Yeah, thank you very much for joining us live today. I'm very grateful. As usual, we are going to take the national anthem and then we continue with our speech today. Kàgbéga, kàgbéga, kàgbéga fáyẹ̀mí. Ìgbàgbọ́ wa ni pé àti bẹ̀rù máa wọ̀ mọ́. Ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́ ká jọlá. Ọ̀kan àti òmìnira ni ẹ jẹ́ ká máa lépa. Tẹ̀síwájú pọ̀pọ̀ ire àtòhun tó dára. Ọmọ Oòduà dìde, bọ́ sípò ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ. Ìwọ ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ gbogbo adúláwọ̀. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. I just want to check out what some of these things that we will be doing. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a while. I think the last time we spoke was on the 1st of January this year. But this evening, I'm going to make what I consider the greatest political speech that will decide the fate of the Yoruba nation. I said it with too much anger in me, bitterness, that I'm even losing my strength, because history has shown that the Yoruba nation is about to be suppressed and subjugated further as a result of the electoral victory of Joe Biden, the new president of the United States of America. This would decide the fate of the Yoruba nation in the next 2 years. And I would like to make this clear to every young Yoruba conservative, wherever you may be, who are watching us. 3 things are likely to happen to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a result of the presidency of Joe Biden. 1, he's likely going to be assassinated. 2, he might be imprisoned. 3, he might leave Nigeria and go on exile to live abroad. That is very bleak for our homeland. But our generation has a choice. And the choice, which is the solution, if we do not want this to happen, then we have to stand in line and fight with the last man to ensure the victory of Tinubu in 2023 as the elected president of Nigeria. It is the history that I'm going to be relaying to you this evening. And we have always been saying this to you. It is very easy to predict the future. You just need to understand what has happened in the past, observe what is currently or presently going on or happening, then you use this tool to project the future. I'm not happy. I am not happy that Joe Biden, the Democrat, won that election. I have seen some of the staff of Tinubu jubilating, celebrating Joe Biden because they are short-sighted. They have no sense of history. I will recollect that MQ Abiola, a Yoruba citizen who happened to be the richest black man on planet Earth before he dies, he single-handedly funded the Black Caucus of the Democratic Party in the United States. But when the chiefs are down, they did not come to his aid. They watched until he was assassinated by Fulani with the support of the government of Westminster, which I've always been referring as the English establishment, approved by Bill Clinton, the sitting Democratic president of the United States. I have never believed in skin color as a means of forging friendship or relationship. I believe more on self-interest, which is self-preservation. So on the basis of this that I will be discussing with you this evening, I would like to touch on what has been happening across Yoruba land before I move on to the lecture proper. But before I speak about what happened in Ibarakwa land, because Ibarakwa is part of Oyo State, I am from there because I live all my life in Ibadan. Oyo State is divided into 5 divisions: Ibadan, Oyo Alafin, Ogbomosho, Oke Ogun, and Ibarakwa. The incessant killing of Yoruba people started not in 2021, not in 2020, not in 1999, but it started many, many years ago. As a matter of fact, it started in 1966 when the Igbo detonated a bomb at Penn Cinema, killing a lot of Yoruba people. And they went into Ore to massacre our people. So the killing of the Yoruba people started a long time ago. But our generation will have to stop this. I will tell you one story. When I used to live in Victoria Land working with Standard Chartered Bank, I used to attend the City of David's Church. It's a redeemed church, but I was born into a Catholic home. Occasionally, I go to Methodist church. But because I was on my home for the first time working, and I live in 1004 estate, and I live on 1004 estate, City of David's Church is very close to that place. So most time I just walk down to the church. I love their praise and worship. There is this lady who happens to be my friend. We were never intimate. We were just young people, but very friendly. I got married, moved on with my life, and we lost contact. We reconnected on Facebook, thanks to social media. But she quickly ignored me because whenever she watched my video, she's not impressed with what I do with my life. At one point in time, she said to me, "You're very brilliant. You used to work in bank. What are you doing with politics? It's bullshit." She doesn't like the fact that I talk about identity politics. She doesn't like the fact that I have always advocated organized violence. She does not respect the fact that I encourage Yoruba people to embrace self-preservation. She does not like anything that I do. She believes that I have changed from that young man, full of life, gentle, articulate, and very handsome. I put all of this as a statement. So she's not impressed. So we reconnected on social media. We immediately went apart because she doesn't like what I have become. Then she was desperate to speak to me. So desperate. So I spoke to her this past January, last week. She has moved with 2 master's degrees already. She's moved to Ukraine, one of the Eastern European countries, to do additional master's degree. So she sent me a message that I would like to speak to you. I was like, what does she want? So I obliged her. When she called me, the first thing that came out of her mouth was my president. I was shocked. I was wondering, why do you call me my president? To cut the long story short, she said to me that I need to apologize to you, that every damn thing that you've been talking about Yoruba, Nigeria, they are actually the truth. So how did you come about this reality? She told me last year that she was kidnapped. They were traveling for a function, 9 of them in a vehicle, and they were kidnapped in Oyo State. They trekked from 6 p.m. when they were kidnapped until 3 a.m. the following morning. They trekked from Oyo State to Kogi State. She told me that during this ordeal, they were 9. They were splitted into 2 groups. The first group contained 5 people, where she was, and the second group contained 4 people. There were 2 women out of these 9 Yoruba people that were kidnapped. She said that she has accepted her fate, that she will be raped. But she told me that she was praying to God. She's a Pentecostal Christian. I don't like Pentecostal Christian, you know. They're very terrible. They don't think Yoruba first. But she was praying to God, calling on Jesus Christ to intervene. She noticed something. Of the 9 individuals that were kidnapped by Hausa Fulani kidnappers, 1 was treated better than the rest of them. He was given water, he was given food, he relaxed, he was not maltreated or tortured. Why? Because the kidnapper believed him to be a Hausa man. He can speak Hausa language. But the rest of them cannot. So they were treated very badly. So she, along with 4 others, were released by the kidnappers, given their phones. The guy who could speak Hausa language was taken with the other 4, making 4 people. So the kidnapper instructed the 5 that were released that they will call them and they must bring in 25 million. So they got into a village in Kogi and started negotiating. They negotiated from 25 million to 15 million, from 15 million to 10 million, from 10 million, eventually the kidnapper agreed for 4 million. So they arranged the money and gave that money to an individual who lives in that village. He is the intermediary between the kidnapper and the family of the hostages. So they gave 4 million to this man. The man went, met with the kidnapper, gave them the 4 million, and the 4 others individual held hostage were released. She said to me that, grandson, throughout my ordeal, I was thinking about you. Why were you thinking about me? I asked her. She said that for the first time in her life, she realized that Nigeria is not one, and Nigeria will never be one. For the first time in her life, she has come to recognize the fact that what makes people the same nationality is not the geographical space they have shared, but their language. The fact that she couldn't speak Hausa almost cost her her life. The fact that the other Yoruba, taken along with them, could communicate in Hausa language fluently. The kidnapper believed him to be Hausa. They treated him very, very decently. And she said, I call you because I now realize that everything that you have been talking about devolution of power, about Oduduwa Republic, about regional government, are actually the issues that everyone should be talking about in Yoruba land. She's a stupid woman, you know. But some of you might think she's not stupid. She's stupid. Those who allow their own experience to be used by others are stupid people. You must learn from the experiences of others so that you don't make the same mistake. Those who learn from the experiences of others are smart people. She's a stupid lady. She does not believe that Nigeria is not one until she was almost killed. That is not the only story she told me. She has now moved to Ukraine. She already has 2 master's degrees. A lady for that matter. She's doing another master's degree in Ukraine. When she got there, she was marveled that in Ukraine, they speak their indigenous language. And she said to me that, oh, we have lost it in Yoruba land. If you cannot speak English, they don't reckon with you as intelligent. Now living in Ukraine, she found out that people who actually speak their indigenous language are intelligent people. She's a stupid woman. Because this is reality, something she ought to have known well before now. That is not the only thing. She told me that with her 2 master's degree already, doing another one in Ukraine, she applied for master's degree in Ukraine only to get out of Nigeria. She's not interested in that master's degree. But she tells me that the only job that they could offer her was a call center operator. That she then said to me, I call you because I want to appreciate you for the fact that you've taught me about self-preservation. She said in Lagos, where she was living before she moved to Ukraine, she doesn't see anything wrong in speaking English to other Yoruba people. She doesn't see anything wrong in Igbo, Hausa, Fulani competing for the same jobs as Yoruba people in Lagos. But in Ukraine, she learned in a big way that you have to think about your own first and foremost. Folks, many of you are like that lady. We have been talking now. Trust me, she professed love for me. You understand? Women like me, Yoruba women particularly. And I love you, Yoruba women. Believe me, I love you. And I love Yoruba women who are thick. I like them. I don't like slim women. I know Libra will be talking about this because I say this to mess up your brain because you are horrible. But to be honest, she professed love for me. But that is not the point that I'm trying to raise here. The point that I'm trying to raise is that something happened in Ibarapa, one of the 5 divisions of Oyo State. Sunday Igbo, who works solely for the Yoruba PDP, did the Yoruba nation proud. He was able to issue an ultimatum to the Fulani living in that axis and ask them to leave our land within 7 days. It was the same thing we did as the president of the Young Yoruba for Freedom. We issued the Igbo a 48-hour ultimatum to leave Yoruba land because of their irresponsible atrocity during the NSAS protest. But you will remember the stupid Yoruba liberals who are predominantly members of the Yoruba PDP castigated my person, called for my arrest. They are the same idiots that are pressing Sunday Igbo over the ultimatum given to the Fulani. So you see, the Yoruba PDP do not put the interests of the Yoruba nation at heart. They don't think Yoruba first. They pick and choose what they ought to believe or their responses to any actions. This kind of people cannot be trusted. But we praise the bravery of Sunday Igbo, even though he's working with the liberal wings of the Yoruba nation. Even though we now know that what happened in Ibarapa was a false flag from the Obasanjo playbook to undermine the collective good of the Yoruba nation, particularly the presidency of Tinubu. Well, we must give credit to what Sunday Igboho has done. He was able to use that situation in Ibarakwa to enlighten the Yoruba youth and steer their imagination to chase out the Fulani who are destroying our space. He should be praised by all. Making this decision for me as an individual and as the president of the Young Yoruba for Freedom, it is not difficult. I have always canvassed and campaigned that when it comes to the national interest of the Yoruba nation, we must never allow our personal gains or personal interests to supersede the national interest of the Yoruba nation. If I, as an individual, were to use emotion, I will not support Sunday Igboho's action because his people condemn the actions that I give, the same ultimatum that I gave to the Igbo. His people even call for my arrest. If we want to go personal, we will condemn his action. In 2017, I made a video while I first public course of action in which we stated as a movement that for Yoruba nation to be free, the last resort is organized violence. The same people who supported Igboho's organized violence against Fulani in Ibarakwa have always been calling for my arrest and prosecution because I led a movement calling for organized violence. You see, if we are to consider this as a personal insult on us, we will condemn Igboho's actions and ask young Yoruba to disregard his bravery. But we will never, because we are the same people that have always been preaching that when it comes to the national interest of the Yoruba nation, you have to jettison your personal interest. That is the same thing we're saying to stupid Yoruba liberals who are married to Igbo because of sexual gratifications. They are willing to undermine the Yoruba nation. So people who consider personal interest first above national interests are not to be trusted. And I'm saying again to the young Yoruba, the Yoruba PDP is a major hindrance to the will of our progress in Yoruba people. Any Yoruba who condemns the actions of Sunday Igboho is simply playing politics. But regardless of what he has done, credit must be given to him. He combined every single teachings of the young Yoruba for freedom. He adopted organized violence. And it is what we have always been saying. So to Mr. Adeyemo, I want to salute your courage and strength, as well as your political dexterity with which you carried out the campaign against the killing of the Yoruba citizen and resident in Yoruba land. We will prefer that you work with the conservative. We will prefer that you support the conservative. You've always supported the PDP Yoruba. They do not mean well for the Yoruba nation. This is a very clear statement from me. We have personal relationship with you as a movement because our Director of Intelligence and Cybersecurity is your younger brother. But we have never worked with you, and I was the one who made this so, because we do not consider you to be conservative. We would rather work with the conservative who thinks Yoruba first than work with those who think Nigeria first. But we want to appeal to you. You've watched my videos. You've embraced our ideology. But we want you to pause and think for a moment. Your actions should not undermine the prospect of the Yoruba nation to take the presidency of Nigeria in 2023. Think about what the Yoruba PDP stands for. What exactly do they want? How do they wish to take Yoruba land out of this suppression and subjugation by the Igbo and Hausa Fulani? The Yoruba PDP were in power from 1999 to 2015 for 16 years. Throughout these periods, they never raised a finger to fight for the Oduduwa Republic or a return to regional government. Why are they now particular about Oduduwa Republic now? It is to undermine Tinubu, a full-blooded Yoruba, from becoming the president of Nigeria in 2023. Why is it difficult for us to end the mass migration of the Igbo and Fulani into Yoruba land? Because we don't control the presidency. The Igbo destroy regional system of government that enables the power of the police to be centralized, the power of the military to be centralized, the control of airport, seaport, land border centralized, the control of immigration centralized, the control of prison centralized, the control of economy centralized, everything centralized in Nigeria. I am going to be making a reference to how the English colonial talk stole our wealth in 1904. 1904. The wealth that we contributed to build railway system. We have had railway in Yoruba land since 1904, but everyone is celebrating the horrible railway that Buhari has just given us in Yoruba land. Why is it that the power to build railway system is centralized with the federal government to suppress and subjugate the Yoruba nation? For us to be free, we must take the power of the presidency. If you don't take the power of the presidency, you will never be free. So this is the question that the young Yoruba must ask without emotion, but with logic. It is the intention of the Yoruba APC to liberate Yoruba land by taking the presidency of Nigeria. That is how they see it fit to liberate the Yoruba nation. The questions you need to ask yourself, how does the Yoruba PDP wishes to liberate the Yoruba nation? I don't know. Do they wish to go to war with the Fulani in order to liberate the Yoruba nation? Let them start the war. Are they willing to select a full-blooded Yoruba to be the candidate of the PDP in 2023 presidential election? No, we don't know that. But there is one thing that we know with the Yoruba PDP. They are always attacking Tinubu. That is their own way of liberating Yoruba nation. So attacking a full-blooded Yoruba like Tinubu is not going to liberate Yoruba nation. It will put us in a doldrum for far too long. So I want to tell you, the action that happened in Ibarakwa is actually from the playbook of Obasanjo. Obasanjo has been quoted as saying, and I will give you this quote so that I will be sure. I will be very sure about this quote, which I don't have, but I know it offhand. It says he would rather cause war in Nigeria than Tinubu becoming president. What happened in Ibarakwa is a false flag. That is nothing other than the truth. But that doesn't undermine the actions of Sunday Igboho. We need to let him know that he might be used by the PDP led by Obasanjo to undermine the prospect of a full-blooded Yoruba becoming president of Nigeria. I want to ask and be specific. And I have the quote now. This is what Obasanjo said recently in private, which we acknowledge. It is preferable to have a war than Tinubu as the president of Nigeria. This is coming from Obasanjo. We're going to deal with this man for the good of my descendants and our descendants. So Sunday Igboho must be told in no clear terms, aside the fact that it's a pure Yoruba blood, we don't want it to be used by Obasanjo and the PDP to undermine the prospect of the Yoruba nation? What is the plan of the Yoruba PDP to free Yoruba land from Hausa Fulani? What is the plan of the Yoruba PDP? I will tell you, they have no plans. Ayo Adebanjo, Yinka Odumakin, who are today attacking Tinubu and attacking Buhari's government, they were the same people that brought Buhari in 2011 under CPC. Tinubu did not support Buhari in 2011. He supported Jonathan. Ayo Adebanjo and Yinka Odumakin, who are today attacking Tinubu, they were the people selling the candidacy of Buhari to us in 2011. Buhari failed woefully across Yoruba land. What is the plan of the Yoruba PDP to free Yoruba land from slavery of the Fulani? They have no plan other than to attack Tinubu. But we know the plans of the Yoruba APC to free Yoruba land, to liberate our children. The plan is to take the presidency of Nigeria. So we have one option for the Yoruba PDP. If you want to go to war with the Fulani, please go to war with them. We will support you only if you are losing. But if you are not losing, it is not our interest. I have always supported the Yoruba APC. I have always played politics. Every member of YYF or those who subscribe to our ideology, they believe in the Yoruba APC. We play politics because everything we do in life revolves around politics. If you do not participate in politics, horrible people will lead you and you will never be free. So to the Yoruba PDP, if you want to go to war with the Fulani, we give you our backing. But don't tell us there will not be election during civil war. Election has always been held during war. I'll give you an example. In Colombia, they participated in presidential election in 2014, while a civil war was raging in their country. Afghans voted in a presidential election while they were going through civil war. In 2010, in Cote d'Ivoire, people participated in the presidential election that resulted into bloodbath. And while that bloodbath were going, there was a runoff between Laurent Gbagbo and Alassane Ouattara before the French supported the other guy, Ouattara. So you cannot separate election from violence. Unfortunately, that has always been all over the world. So, to the Yoruba PDP, some of you are asking us to think Yoruba first. We gave you that concept. We want you to think Yoruba first for the first time. While you fight the Fulani, allow the Yoruba APC to take the presidency from them. You Yoruba PDP, if you are truly sincere, declare war against the Fulani. While the Yoruba APC takes the presidency from the Fulani, head or tail, Yoruba will prevail in 2023. But if your only attack is to Tinubu, you don't think Yoruba first. And this is what some people are telling me. Grandson, let us forget about politics. Let us liberate Yoruba land. Idiots. If you don't play politics, you will never be free. Tell me one single nation on earth that is fighting to free their nation without playing politics. Even when you go to war, you will still sit down on a round table to negotiate after the war. So the PDP Yoruba, we are waiting for your war on Hausa Fulani, while we, the APC Yoruba, allow us to take the presidency in 2023. So, to all the young Yoruba who have allowed emotion to prevail, don't fall for this gimmick telling you to forget about politics, telling you let us focus our attention on liberating Yoruba land. Idiot. How do you wish to liberate Yoruba land? Let the PDP answer that simple question. How do they want to liberate Yoruba land? By attacking Tinubu? Is that liberation or condemnation of the Yoruba nation? That is not liberation. So don't fall for those idiots that will tell you to forget about politics. You have to play politics on all things. We're challenging Yoruba PDP, go to war with Fulani, and we're telling the Yoruba APC, take the presidency in 2023. If the Yoruba PDP prevails, Yoruba land prevails. If the Yoruba APC wins the presidency in 2023, Yoruba land wins the presidency in 2023. Head or tail, Yoruba land will be great beyond 2023. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. That is enough on what happened last Friday. But let me go to what I believe is the most important issue that we need to discuss. The Joe Biden presidency as it affects the Yoruba nation. According to Reuters opinion poll, more than half of the Republicans believe that President Trump rightfully won the US election, but that it was stolen from him by widespread voters' fraud that favored the Democratic Party candidate, Joe Biden, who is now, unfortunately, the President of the United States of America. I tell you this, and we love America very well, but there may never be a free and fair elections again in that beautiful country that I love so much if there is no electoral commission to investigate the election results. As a movement, the Young Yoruba for Freedom, we supported the Republican Party, and we have always been against the Democratic Party. We don't just hate the Democratic Party, if you allow me to use that word. We dislike that party because whenever that party is in power, Yoruba nation is always having problem. And I will give you a ample example. The Yoruba political leaders have either been unlawfully imprisoned, like the case of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, or assassinated, like the case of Chief MK Abiola, by the Fulani minority and Igbo in Nigeria. This is what we are going to see. I am going to trace the history of the suppression and subjugation of the Yoruba nation by the Democratic Party starting in 1851. I told you, you can easily predict the future. You just need to understand what has gone on in the past, observe the present situation, use these two situations to predict the future. Democrats have always supported the rule of the Fulani minority in Nigeria as opposed to the rule of the Yoruba majority. When it comes to the population of Nigeria, Yoruba is the majority. We're more than 60 million people. Fulani are minority. They are less than 4% of the total population of Nigeria. So because the Democrats have always supported the Fulani minority, we fear that Joe Biden, a Democrat, will likely help the Fulani minority in Nigeria to stop Tinubu from the majority Yoruba from becoming the president of Nigeria in 2023. And I've said this. I have the solution. The Young Yoruba for Freedom, we have the solution. So don't be afraid. Just follow what we have been able to do. We apply reason. If you do nothing, and let me say this to Ademola Oshodi, you work with Tinubu. I have followed you on Twitter. I followed Egmontunde Rahman. He's always writing about Western newspaper or something that he has. I follow you guys. We've been unable to meet with Tinubu. I have tried when he was in London. I tried. I even have to call a police commissioner in Yoruba, but I wasn't able to see him. We might not be able to see him. What you guys are doing, we monitor it. We monitor those who are close to Tinubu to know the state of mind of Tinubu. We can see you guys celebrating Joe Biden. That is the man that is going to destroy Tinubu if you don't do what we're going to advise you. MK Abiola funded the Democratic Party. Democratic Party killed MK Abiola. We know that Tinubu has good relationship with the Democratic Party. If you do not lobby them, if you do not speak truth to them, if you don't go to them to talk to them, they will kill you. Tinubu will now be president. So follow what we say. We know the solution. Folks, there are historical precedents justifying our assertions that the Democrats will assist the minority Fulani to further subjugate the Yoruba nation under Joe Biden presidency of the United States of America. And I hope my younger sister is watching this. We have a serious argument about this. I will tell you too, you love Joe Biden very much. You don't want to come back to Yoruba land. You have all your children in America. The only thing that is making you to think about Yoruba land is because of our parent. And I told you, in the next 30 years now, if our parent dies, you will forget everything about Yoruba land, which is a big shame on you. That is your ancestral homeland. I will be speaking to people like you to use your opportunities of living in America to speak to the conscience of the Democrats, to stop undermining the greatness of the Yoruba nation. Take a clue from President Joe Biden. He's an Irish guy. He has Irish ancestry. The minute he became president-elect, he sent a warning signal to Boris Johnson that he will never accept any infraction on his people, the Irish. Today, England, Wales, and Scotland are out of the EU, but Northern Ireland is still part of the EU. That is what Joe Biden wants. As an ordinary president-elect, he influenced the desire of his people, the Irish. And I said to my younger sister, don't be foolish that because you now live in America, you're jubilating that Joe Biden won. What are you doing to protect your ancestral homeland, Yoruba land? Take a clue from Joe Biden. Folks, we have historical precedent to justify what the Democrats are going to do to Yoruba land under Joe Biden presidency. In 1851, the English attacked Lagos. They killed a lot of our ancestors. Millions of Yoruba people were killed. Who was the president of the United States of America? Milan Fillmore. He was a Democrat who crossed over to the Whig Party. All the Democrats, they were disaffected with the policy of the other Democrats, separated into two. They form another party. He was the president of America. He backed the England attack of the Yoruba nation in 1851. We went to war with the English in 1855. What led to that war? Free slaves in England who were black were boxed into a ship, and the ship went down to Lagos, Yoruba land. The Yoruba people of that era in 1855 rejected them, saying that they will only accept the free slaves who were Yoruba. Any non-Yoruba should trace back his ancestral homeland outside Yoruba land. The English said no. We went to war. Who defended Yoruba land? Madam Tinubu, who is the great-great-grandmother of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Who supported the Yoruba to confront the English then? The Portuguese and the Brazilians. In 1855, who was the president of America in 1855? Franklin Pierce. He was a Democrat and the president of the United States. He backed the English in responsible action to dump non-Yoruba people into Yoruba land. Whenever the Democrats are in power, study the history. Yoruba nation is under subjugation. Yoruba nation is always facing one hell or another. And what we've noticed is that under democratic government in America, our political leaders are either killed or in prison. We have a lot of fear for Tinubu, but those who work with him, they don't see this. They are laughing. History is a great teacher. In 1885, you remember what happened in 1885? The Berlin Conference is actually started in 1884 Late 1884, I think November 1884. It started proper in 1885. That was where Africa as a continent was divided among 7 powerful European countries. The Yoruba sphere, Yoruba land as we call it today, we were divided into 3 spaces. Germany controlled the Yoruba portion of Togo. France controlled the Yoruba portion of Benin Republic. England controlled the Yoruba portion of Nigeria. We were balkanized by 7 European powers. America, Russia did not participate in the balkanization of Africa. They did not. Go and check the record. But who was the president of America in 1885 when Yoruba land was divided into 3 different spaces? You want me to tell you, you check your record because we've done our research. His name was Grover Cleveland, a Democrat, was the president of the United States, who participated at that conference as an observant. He observed. Russia also participated, but they were not that powerful around that time in 1885. It was France, Germany, and England that were very powerful. They balkanized our homeland. America president was a Democrat in 1885. Imagine if they have allowed us, Yoruba land, to remain one. Are we going to be facing Fulani X-Men crisis? No. Are we going to be facing the mass migration of the Igbo? No. Causing criminal acts across Yoruba land. But they divided us into 3. Look at Buhari. He even closed the border against our blood in Benin Republic and Togo. A foreigner closed our border, shut down our border for over a year. I don't think he has opened it. He has opened the other border. He hasn't. Yoruba land was balkanized into 3 nations. Who was the president? A Democrat. Whenever these guys are in power, they messed you up. But we're telling you this so that you know that we have a bigger problem. So the solution we will give you. So don't think that there is no solution to this, that Tinubu is going to be destroyed, Tinubu will not be president. You just need to know the reality. If we do not do the right thing, Tinubu will never be president because Joe Biden, a Democrat, is the president of America. In 1892, the English attacked the Ijebu tribe of the Yoruba nation over the control of Apapa Wharf. Who was the president in 1892? Benjamin Harrison, a Republican, was the president of America from 1889 to 1892. When Benjamin was the president, he ensured there was no war in 1892. He negotiated between the Yoruba nation and the Crown Colony and the British colony or the British Empire. The English agreed with the Ijebu that every year they will pay £500 to use Apapa Wharf. And that port you have there, that land, it belongs to Ijebu people. But the real owner of that land, I will disclose it to you today. We negotiated. So the English agreed to give 500 every year. But the minute Benjamin Harrison, a Republican, left office, he left office in 1892. A Democrat became president of America. Grover Cleveland. He took power in 1892. And the English, who had earlier agreed with the Ijebu over the use of the waterways in Lagos, immediately attacked the Yoruba over the use of waterways. The Democrats were in power. When the Republicans were in power, we negotiated with the English over the use of that port. That port today is Fulani who are using it. I'll tell you the owner of the port and the land that the port is built on. You will be shocked. how we've been suppressed and subjugated. We negotiated. But the moment the Republican left power, that the Democrat came in, boom, English went to war with us. It's a dangerous trend we have with Joe Biden presidency. I pity the Yoruba nation, and I actually pity my descendants. If we don't get it right, Tinubu will never be president. Yoruba will forever be suppressed and subjugated. In 1908, Olayinka Macaulay, a Yoruba citizen, who was the subject of the King of England, he had that boldness and effrontery. He exposed the English corruption in managing the taxes collected to build railway across Yoruba land. I said to you earlier, we have had railway since the 19th centuries. 1908, we were paying taxes to the English to help us to build railway. So Fulani Buhari giving you railway in 2021 and you are jubilating, celebrating because you have no sense of history. We can't blame you. Majority of Yoruba are illiterates. So we contributed the tax money in 1908. But the English stole that money. But you don't expect, the English were so powerful then. But Olayinka Macaulay confronted them, exposed them. You know why he did that? He had the backing of the United States of America. Who is the president of America in 1908? Theodore Roosevelt, a Republican, was the president of the United States of America. Olayinka Macaulay couldn't have denounced English corruption without the American presidency led by a Republican. If the president of America had been a Democrat, Olayinka Macaulay exposing English corruption in 1908, he would have rot in jail. The Democrats are bad. That is the fact. They are actually the racists. But you see, the problem with black people is in America, those who kill them the most, they queue behind them to vote for them. That is the same thing with the criminally minded Igbo. Fulani have always been killing them. They queue behind Fulani in every election. People, the same people killing them. Look at the way and manner they're trooping into our space. They dare not do that in Hausa, Fulani, and the Igbo. They kill them. But have they ever voted for the Yoruba? No, because we treat them like human beings. We don't kill them. The people who are killing them, they kill behind them. That is the same problem with Africa and America. They always kill behind the Democrat who have always been dehumanizing them. You will see how Joe Biden will treat them. Again, in 1914, at least, we know that the Yoruba land is an illiterate society because a lot of people are just stupid. That is the truth. We have to tell you the truth. If you are not stupid, you will not be in England washing toilet while Fulani are controlling your port. If you Yoruba, you are not stupid, you will not be in America driving Uber while Fulani are the one in charge of your policing, the one in charge of your military bases. There are people in charge, Fulani are the people in charge of your immigration. If you are not stupid, you are stupid. That is why you are in England with PhD, with master's degree, with bachelor of science degree, doing security guard. You're stupid. At least if you don't know what has been talking about for long, you will recognize this. In 1914, you shout about it. 1914 amalgamation, 1914 amalgamation. Is that not what you shout about every day? So it was in 1914 that the irresponsible English colonial thugs forcefully amalgamated the Yoruba portion that the English were controlling. They forcefully amalgamated it with the Igbo land, with Hausa Fulani land, with Kanuri land, with Ijaw land, and call us Nigeria. Who was the president of America in 1914? Check your record. His name was Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, was the president of the United States. He accepted the forceful merger without the consent of the Yoruba people. Believe you me, if a Democrat had been president of America in 1914, he would have rejected the amalgamation. He will call it forceful amalgamation. We were not consulted. We were not consulted. It was based on the decision of the English colonial thugs. That was racist action. But their stupid police have charged me to court for fueling racial hatred or stirring up racial hatred. The same people who are racist. The same police in this England, if you are a black man driving an expensive car, this racist police will stop you and search you. I don't used to call people racist. I said we are all practicing self-preservation until they charge me with stirring up racial hatred. The same people who were described as institutionally racist during the Stephen Lawrence murder trial here in this England. That was how they described their police, and they've taken me to court because I'm enlightening the Yoruba youth. I'm opening up their mind to appreciate the need to take Yoruba land out of Nigeria, to appreciate the need to take the presidency of Nigeria. You know why they've taken me to court? Because I've exposed the English corruption. I told you, Westminster government is the most corrupt government on planet Earth. It is not Nigerian government. Nigerian government is not corrupt. The government in England is very corrupt, stealing your wealth. You go and challenge their prime minister. Say to him, we Yoruba in England, we will return back to Yoruba land if you allow Nigeria to break up. He will not allow it. He would rather keep you in England for you to wash their toilets, for you to clean their offices, for you to do care work, take care of their disabled people, take care of their elderly people, for you to work in their supermarket, for you to be car park attendant, for you to be driving their people. You would rather do that shit job. He won't allow Nigeria to break. So they are corrupt. Don't let anybody bullshit you and tell you Nigerian government is corrupt. England is the most corrupt country on planet Earth. They are very, very corrupt. Let them allow Nigeria to break. They will stop controlling your wealth, Yoruba people. You wake up, folks. So in 1914, a Democrat was the president of America. That was when Nigeria was created. It's not really when Nigeria was created. It was when the forceful merger happened. All of the time that Olayinka Abatmakoli was confronting the English, there was no Nigeria then. All of the time the Ijebu were fighting the English, there was no Nigeria then. Nigeria became a nation or a country in 1914. A Democrat was the president of America. You can see that shit that is going on. When you have a Democrat in power, Yoruba land, you are always fucked. But look, don't be sad, guys. Don't be sad. Don't be sad. There's a solution. In 1919, there is a man called Amadu Tijani Oluwa. Many of you have seen a picture of me and a lady when we attend court or when we have a get-together wife meeting. That beautiful lady that is always by my side, she's very supportive. She's a senior member of YYF. She's the granddaughter of Amadu Tijani Oluwa. That lady you see, her grandfather owned the entire land in Apapa, Lagos. The Oluwa family are very wealthy, very rich. I'm going to tell you one thing they did for the Yoruba nation. It is not by mistake that she supported the young Yoruba for freedom. It is blood in her. The Oluwa family, they are all over everywhere in England here. Some of them are working as security guard. Some of them are doing care work. Some of them are doing cleaning work. So many of them are doing shit job in England. But their grandfather owned the entire land in Apapa. Their grandfather was the first Yoruba and the first black man to take on the English colonial talk and sue them to court. That is her degree. My grandfather was a king. He challenged the English in 1951 and asked them to leave Yoruba land. You know what they did to him? They stopped paying him his salary. So in 1919, folks, Amadu Tijani Oluwa, he was a traditional chief and the first Yoruba, as well as the first African, to file a lawsuit against the English colonial government. You know what he did? He challenged the compulsory acquisition of his family land in Apapa, Lagos, by the English. The English said they wanted to use it for all manners of things. And they took all the land from him. The Oluwa family has the entire land in Apapa. He appealed, saying that the English colonial talk was wrong. He lost his appeal in the Supreme Court in 1919. Who was the president of America then? Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, was the president of the United States of America. He supported the English to appropriate the land from Amadou Tijani Oluwa. That is the nature of the Democrat. Believe you me, they are terrible. We have to speak the truth. We're not afraid of them. On a personal note, I have been reaching out to Mike Pompeo, asking him to safeguard my interests, because I know the English establishment would like to assassinate me, because I have told their police that you would like to kill me, so I have to go to the Republican and ask them for help, because we hope Mike Pompeo in 2024 will get the ticket of the Republican as their presidential candidate. We as a movement will work with him. We will continue to work with the Republican. But today we have a solution to all of this problem that the Democrats have caused the Yoruba nation whenever they are in power. I will give you the solution. It's very simple. If we follow this through, Tinubu will be president. But if we ignore this, he won't be president of Nigeria in 2023. It's either he's going to be killed in prison or exile. Maybe you're going to be living in London with me, and that will be miserable. He will just die, because it is like a fish out of water. So if we love this guy, let us say to him, and let us help him as pure Yoruba blood to talk to these Democrats. So in 1919, my friend's grandfather lost the case, Amadou Tijani Oluwa. But this man did not give up. Chief Amadou Tijani Oluwa did not give up. In 1921, he teamed up with the Eleko of Eko. Let me correct this impression. This man that we call Oba of Lagos, Oba of Lagos is a recent name. The real name is Eleko of Eko. So Amadou Tijani Oluwa, he teamed up with Eleko of Eko, appointed Olayinka Abat-Macaulay as their lawyer. Olayinka Abat-Macaulay went to London, the previous council, to argue their case. The English don't have Supreme Court as at that time. They have what is called previous council. It was Tony Blair who recently gave them Supreme Court. So Olayinka Abat-Macaulay represented Amadou Tijani Oluwa to appeal the land tenure case in London. In London, Macaulay claimed that the English colonial government was eroding Eleko's power, that is the power of Oba of Lagos. Eleko's powers and authority and the communal land tenure system in Yoruba land. Everybody knows, if you know your history. Like now, I'm a prince. If I go to Okakoko, I'm not going to go and buy land. My grandfather owns the entire land. So I'm just going to be given a small parcel of land to build or farm or do whatever I desire to do. That is the communal system we practice in Yoruba land. Our chief owns land, our Oba owns land, family owns land in Yoruba land. That is our rule. But the English came to our land. These are the people that have charged me for stirring up racial hatred. But they are racist. They left England, came to our land and taken our land. But we took them to court. We took them to court. This statement really embarrassed the English colonial government and forced them to hand over the land back to the Eleko of Eko and Chief Amadou Tijani and family members. You know, in 1990, Amadou Tijani Oluwa went to court. He lost the case. Who was the president in 1919? A Democrat, Woodrow Wilson. But he did not give up. He challenged the case up to the previous council in London in 1921, and he won. That was the reason why Yoruba people retained their land until Obasanjo came. I will tell you about that one, but don't let me miss this. He won the case in 1921. He challenged the case up to Supreme Court in London. The Supreme Court was called Previous Council. He won. Who was the president of America in 1921? Warren Harding, a Republican, was the president of the United States. Whenever the Republicans are in power, we are always living good life as Yoruba people. We don't have problem. Nobody suppresses us. But whenever the Democrats are in power, we're fucked. But let me tell you this, young Yoruba. Don't be scared that Joe Biden is going to destroy us the more. 4 generations of the Chinese fought the English. The first generation lost. They wanted back their land, or Kong. They fought the English, they lost. The second generation did the same thing, they lost. The third generation lost. In 1982, the fourth generation did not fire one single shot at English. It was a statement of their leader. He simply said to the English, if you don't give up Hong Kong, I will overrun Hong Kong under 24 hours. Margaret Thatcher gave up Hong Kong. The fact that the Democrats have been destroying us for far too long does not mean that Joe Biden is going to do the same, but you have to lobby. Do you understand me? You have to lobby. But let's go on. Now, before I forget this, former Miss Olua, who is a member of YY, that is the story of her grandfather I have just told you. You see, it is because of the blood of her grandfather, that is why she supports YY. You understand? Our grandfather fought the English to get us back our land. Obasanjo took our land in 1978 through Land Use Act. Obasanjo, his mother was Yoruba, his father Igbo. He took our land away from us. The Oluwa family, they are the owner of the land upon which Apapa Port is built today. None of them should have been living in England, suffering like commoners. These are highly respected family, but all of them have left Yoruba land. Their lands have been taken away from them by Obasanjo. They should be getting money from Apapa Wharf now because their grandfather owns that land. All of them are doing care work, security guard. That's the shit job they do in England. They have destroyed the Yoruba nation for far too long. Our generation will end it. I'm going to win my case in May. Believe me, I will expose the English corruption. The government of Westminster is corrupt, supporting the Fulani. We will never be free as a nation if we do not cut the friendship of the United States of America. Our grandparents went to court in London to get back our land for us. Obasanjo, with the stroke of pen, took everything away from us. So today, you are talking about Fulani X-Men. You are talking about Fulani X-Men. They said the land belonged to the government. Who gave them that right? Horrible man called Obasanjo. That man will die a horrible death, I predict, believe you me. They will cut you into 4. Part of your body will be taken to Awolowo's graveyard. Another part will be taken to Bola Ige graveyard. Another part will be taken to Fela Anikulapo Kuti's graveyard. Another part, I forgot where that one is going to be taken to. Horrible man that you are. Horrible soul. He's using false flag. He's trying to cause a war in Yoruba now because he doesn't want Tinubu to be president. God punish you. We Yoruba youth will deal with him. Oti ṣiṣẹ́ ti bá ẹwọ Ọbásanjọ́ olórí burúkú ni wọ́n máa pariwo pé olóògùn olóṣì ìwọ tá a mọ̀ story ẹ̀ wọ́n rán ẹ lọ sí South Africa wọ́n ní kó lọ negotiate pẹ̀lú àwọn funfun tó wà ńbẹ̀ òde oní ní weapon táwọn people yẹn ní ó tá bá máa jagun á lo oògùn gan olórí burúkú olóṣì ogun náà fi jagun olórí burúkú èèyàn ó mo mọ bọ́lọ́run máa ṣe treat ẹ tọ́lọ́run bá fẹ́ fi ìyà jẹ á jẹ́ kó dàgbà ibi tó bá jókòó sí ló máa yàgbẹ́ sí wọ́n máa nà ẹ́ ní spoon lẹ́nu ni ìwọ ṣiṣẹ́ máa bá ẹ olórí burúkú olóṣì yẹ ẹ jẹ́ Yorùbá ó dẹ̀ jókòó ó dẹ̀ single-handedly parun Yorùbá jẹ́ olóṣì àwọn Yorùbá yìí tó fẹ́ pa ẹ àbúrò bí àṣírí ni olóṣì ó ṣiṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú CIA àwa náà ṣiṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú CIA ṣe báwa fẹ́ ran Yorùbá lọ́wọ́ ni ìgbà tó ṣiṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú CIA ṣó ran Yorùbá lọ́wọ́ olórí burúkú olóṣì èèyàn ó ní máa jókòó síbẹ̀ generation wa ló lẹ́nu sìn ó lẹ́nu wọ́n ti lò ẹ́ so amount to anything. Joe Biden tó ń pariwo pé o mọ̀ á bá tiẹ̀ jẹ́ àwa young people á fuck ẹ up kò ní brain kankan olórí burúkú ènìyàn ìyá ẹ kò nífẹ̀ẹ́ ìyá ẹ olóṣì olórí burúkú Ọbásanjọ́ bàtà apájọwọ́jọwọ́ etí ẹ olórí burúkú ẹni gbogbo àkàwé àwa dẹ̀dùn arinlẹ̀ nílùú òyìnbó ń fi wára rẹ̀ nílùú wọn àṣìṣe òṣì wọ́n bà gbogbo ilẹ̀ wa mọ́ wa lọ́wọ́ wọ́n bà gbogbo resources wa mọ́ wa lọ́wọ́ á lù ẹ́ pa ní àwa Yorùbá youth dá sẹ̀ríà fún ẹ olóògùn olóṣì àwọn ọmọ Amẹ́ríkà 21, 18, 19, wọ́n jókòó sí di computer, wọ́n máa control drone, wọ́n máa fire ilé ẹ̀dànù ní pẹ̀lú oògùn òṣì tó sọ pé ó ní èèyàn burúkú. Our grandparents went to court to get our land for us. He single-handedly took our land away from us in 1978 through the Land Use Act. Olori Buruku is now saying Fulani Esme are everywhere. Who put Fulani in power? Was it not you? Olushi. I'm a pioneer. To sing of the machine. Ọmọ ọba lèmi, o kì í ṣe Yorùbá. Wọ́n máa ń sọ pé a kì í gbórí àjàṣorò, a kì í gbálágbára pẹjọ́, bí òkè àwọlé àgbọn mìrègún kò sí nǹkan tó lè fà wá ṣe, a máa finish ẹni. We are born for this. It is not exceptional. There are some generations, there are some individuals, they will be born for a purpose. My great-grandfather was a military head for the entire Remoland. My grandfather was a king. Before he died, he told my mother that your third child would take over from me. People thought I'm going to be king, but he was a politician. That is what I am doing. So you will learn. I hate here. It destroyed our life. You can see the history of how we got back our land. He took our land from us. Horrible soul that he is. So folks, something happened in 1923. It was the first thing in Yoruba land. In 1923, that was the first time we had an election in Yoruba land. The Igbo had the first election in 1954. Imagine that, 1923, we Yoruba, we had the first election. 1923. Igbo had their first election in 1954. So we are not at par with these people. We're more civilized than them. Fulani had their election, the first election in 1959. But let us look at what happened. In 1923, we had the first election held in Yoruba land. It was against the wishes of the English colonial government, who wanted to continue to rule over the Yoruba nation as a crown colony with the inferior and uneducated English colonial officers from England. That was it. In 1923, the Yoruban youth of that era said no, that you cannot be treating us like slaves. We are not subject to crown colony, that is the king of England. The Yoruba said to them that all the English colonial officers that you are bringing to our space, they are illiterate. They are not educated. That's what they are still doing now. They call themselves expatriate. We live in England, they call us immigrant. English in Yoruba, you call them expatriate. That is another reason why you are illiterate, Yoruba people. Illiterate people. English who have never been to university, inferior, uncivilized English. You call them expatriate in Yoruba. In 1923, we stopped that. We said we want election, that you English cannot be ruling us. You can't come from England and be ruling us. So that was the first time we had election in Yoruba. Who was the president of America? A Republican. I'll give you his name. Is Calvin Coolidge. That was it. He was a Republican. It was because of the fact that he was a Republican that the Yoruba were able to insist that he must be the one ruling. 1923. Calvin was the president of America who was against slavery and colonialism at the time, and he inspired many African countries to demand for their freedom. That was why the Yoruba nation was able to secure the right to elect its own leadership through the electoral process. 1923. Every time that we have had it so good in Yoruba land, it is the Republican that is always in power. Every time that we have been suppressed, and subjugated, it has always been the Democrat in power. We don't like them, the Democrat. That is the truth. I will continue and I will do everything humanly possible to support the Republican Party in America. Because President Trump lost the election or was rigged out, doesn't mean that we have to give up. No, this is the more time that we have to reach out to the Republican. Let me tell you something. If Tinubu can reach out to Republicans will confront the Democrat in America and fight for the interests of the Yoruba. But if you ignore the Republican and think that the Democrats would do you good, you're foolish. Democrat will overrun us. By the time you wake up, Tinubu is either dead or in prison or exile. So don't let us be foolish. We claim to be the most educated out of Africa, right? Let us use our human capital, our brain power. Let us use it if truly we are the most educated. We need diplomats to lobby and negotiate for us. I will be doing a course in that because I want to know diplomacy. You know, I have given you the definition of diplomacy sometimes. It simply means reciprocity, tit for tat. That's why I'm saying that everything the English are doing to us in their country, we're going to do the same thing to English national in Yoruba. The way you just stop and search us because we are black, we will stop and search English national in Lagos. The way you just arrest us, put us in handcuff, even in the presence of our children, we're going to put English national in handcuff in the presence of their children in Yoruba. We will treat you the way you treat us in your country. That is what you are going to get. We are very wealthy people. You are just suppressing us using Fulani in what is called neocolonialism. So 1923, we obtained the right to vote for our own leader, ourselves in Yoruba land, courtesy of the presidency of the Republican Party. Let us move on quickly, folks. 1951. The Yoruba asked the English to return to England and grant them the independence without being part of Nigeria. My grandfather was still alive at that time, in 1951. That was why the English stopped paying him his salary. As a king, the English were paying salary there because he wasn't ruling. So I'm his grandson now. I'm going to finish what he has started. But the English will have none of that, and instead gave the Yoruba a self-rule. In 1951, we actually asked for independence as Yoruba people. We were not asking for independence as part of Nigeria. We said we want to be on our own as Yoruba nation. 1951. We asked the English. They refused. Who was the president of America? Harry Truman, a Democrat. He was the president of America. He was against the freedom of the Yoruba nation. He was against our independence. If the Republican had been in power, we would have not been part of fucked up shithole country called Nigeria. That was in 1951. In 1954, folks, the Yoruba nation finally achieved independence from the English, and Awolowo became Yoruba land's first prime minister. 1954 election, that was the first time Yoruba had a prime minister. Who was the president of America? Another Republican, Dwight Eisenhower, was a Republican. He was the president of America who championed the agitation for independence. God will bless President Trump. We missed you. Believe me, I was down when he eventually conceded. I was very down and I was sick because I know it will always be good for Yoruba nation whenever the Republicans were there. In 1951, we asked for independence, asking the English colonial talk to leave our space. Go back to your England. They refused. They gave us a rule. The Democrat was in power. In 1954, when we elected our first prime minister, the Republicans were in power. Check the record, folks, so that we speak nothing but the truth. There's nothing hidden in YY. Some people say to me, you know, I like Yoruba women a lot. You know, I like Yoruba women. Some people will say to me, oh, you don't have to move with all these girls and blah, blah, blah. They will say, I don't have a secret that you don't know or you can use to blackmail me. I'm not that type. I'm a very completely decent young man. I'm decent. So you see, we're hoping. That is the way I have been trained by my grandmother. She says to me, do not wish evil upon anyone, but anyone who wishes evil upon you, you must revenge. You know why my grandmother said that? She had 9 children before she gave back to my mom. 9 children. All of them were killed by other women who were competing for her husband. All of her 9 children were killed. So what happened? She had to become a witch, a white witch, to protect her children. And she revenged for all the 9 children that were killed. She had more than 20-something children, all herself. But after she took that power, none of her children died again. They forced her to do that. She called me when I was very young. I have no recollection that I will be able, in my heart of life, remember that. She said to me, do not do evil to anybody, but anyone who does evil to you, you must revenge. That's why the idiot who called terrorism on me is scared. That's why if you hurt me, I'll hurt you back. That's my philosophy. That's what my grandmother told me. So don't go about and think witches and wizards are bad. It's not. Ani aje dudu, ani aje funfun. Aje funfun ni grandmother me. And I have a picture here with me. I pray that's the first thing I do every morning. She's my ancestor. She's guiding me. I don't call Jesus Christ or pray to Jesus Christ to save my soul. No, I speak to my ancestors. So you see that in 1954, when we have finally achieved independence from the English, as Yoruba nation, the Republicans were in power. In 1960, that's another very important date in the history of the Yoruba nation, and by extension, Nigeria. The English were driven out of Yoruba land and Nigeria, respectively, after independence. Who was the president of America in 1960? A Republican, Dwight Eisenhower, or how do they pronounce his name? He was a Republican. If the Democrat had been in power, you and I might not have had independence in 1960. The Democrats don't mean well for the Yoruba nation. But we can change the tide. Changing the tide will mean that first we expose all the atrocity of the Democrats whenever they are in power. Now that you have this information, you then lobby. It's very important. In 1962, the Hausa and Fulani, as well as the Igbo, in an attempt to control Yoruba land crude oil and waterways, declare a state of emergency across Yoruba land. This led to the killings of 14,542 Yoruba children, women, and men. The bad deed was backed by John F. Kennedy, a Democrat who was then the president of the United States. 1962, over 14,000 Yoruba were killed by Igbo and Hausa Fulani after the declaration of a state of emergency. Democrats were in power. They are evil, morally corrupt. They will want to come and mess us up. But look, the joker is very clear. If you want Tinubu to be president of Nigeria, we need the support of the United States. I have told you, YIF as a movement, we don't have the money. We can't lobby. We need millions of dollars. Do I even have that? The Yoruba APC must be smart enough to also reach out to the Republican senators, to the Republican members of House of Representatives. They should fund their election. They should donate money for them, and at the same time lobby the Democrat. So when the Democrat want to try to undermine us, the Republican in America will speak for us. Be smart, if truly we are the most educated out of Africa. Did you guys like my new attire? It's very beautiful, right? Be smart. So that was what happened to us in 1962. In 1962, a state of emergency was declared across Yoruba land. 14,000 plus Yoruba men, women, and children were killed. Who was the president of America? A Democrat, John F. Kennedy. In 1963, the coalition government of the Fulani and Igbo imprisoned Awolowo. Awolowo was the first prime minister of Yoruba nation. They jailed him for 10 years on a false allegation of treason. Igbo and Fulani said that he wanted to take over power from them. Again, who was the president of the United States? John F. Kennedy, a Democrat. He supported the deceptive imprisonment of Awolowo and 21 other Yoruba political leaders. Whenever the Democrats are in power, Yoruba, you are always having problems. I have my fear for Tinubu. You know, when President Trump was in government, you know, I was arrested for terrorism. They didn't charge me because the police here have to speak to CIA. If it were under the Democrat, they would have fucking dumped me in prison to be wasted or to be killed, assassinated. They are evil, Democrats. They don't mean well for black nation. This is what we have to say to them. In their country, United States of America, there are two racial groups, black, which is 12% of the total population of America, and white, over 70% of the total population of America. Because of the white majority, they are the one producing the presidency of the United States. Let us look at what is going on in Nigeria. The Yoruba is the majority, more than 25% of the total population of Nigeria. Fulani are minority, less than 5% of the population of Nigeria. Ask yourself, why is the Democrat always supporting the Fulani minority when they would not allow African America to be president in America? Why must Fulani minority continue to rule over Yoruba majority? Let us ask the Democrat and say to them, if you want Fulani to rule over us in Nigeria, you also give up power to African Americans. They tell you, they're saying that the vice president of Joe Biden is an African American. Yeah, his father is Jamaican, his mother is from India. His father is not African American. They should stop telling us lies. His father is a Jamaican, his mother is Indian, and she's more closer to our mother's nation, Indian. Like me, I love my mother more than my dad. My daughter loves me more than her mother. My son loves the mother more than me. That's how God created it. They should stop bullshitting you and tell you Joe Biden, vice president, is African American. She's not. She's half Jamaican, half Indian. That is the truth. They deceive you every now and then. The party is going to fuck up Yoruba if we do not lobby. And the best way for you to lobby the Republican. When the Democrats want to attack us, it is the Republican that will speak for us. It is like Yoruba PDP and Yoruba APC. You understand? When the governor Ambode in Lagos, he passed a law saying that there will be Yoruba. For you to go to Lagos University or anything, you have to pass Yoruba. The Igbo ran to the Yoruba PDP, and the Yoruba PDP were shouting, yeah, talking shit at us. But the Igbo were calm, that the Yoruba PDP were talking for them. And what happened? It was two fighting, Yoruba APC and Yoruba PDP, they were fighting. Igbo were in one corner. If we say we're going to chase away the Igbo in Lagos now, the Yoruba PDP will be speaking on social media. So Yoruba, you have to speak to the Republican. So if the Democrats want to mess your life up in 2023, the Republican will be speaking for us. Simple. It's a simple logic. So don't be idiot. Don't think that there is no solution to all of these things. There is a solution. And those of you who are happy that Joe Biden is the president, he even called a Yoruba family. I'm going to talk about some of the people that he has appointed. Use those connections to speak to him to save the Yoruba nation. After all, he saved the Irish from the EU negotiation. Today, Northern Ireland is part of the EU Common Custom Union. But England is not. Wales is not. Scotland is not. Because they are no longer. But Northern Ireland is still part of it, courtesy of President Joe Biden. Because it's from Ireland. So you also use your connection. Huh? Kema shode, kema pe Jesu ashe, Olúwa mi o, Olúwa Jesu, gbogbo ẹ, any problem, Jesu ni ọdẹ, wọ́n máa ń sọ̀rọ̀ ni, Jesu ti kú kò ní padà wá sílé ayé yìí mọ́. Ẹ máa negotiate ni, ẹ máa lọ bá àwọn èèyàn sọ̀rọ̀, kì í ṣe church lẹ máa lọ kú sí, kì í ṣe kẹ́ máa gbé báàbù kiri àdúgbò, kẹ́ni Jesu ashe, Jesu ò ṣe anything. Talk to people, form alliance, establish relationship, talk about trade deals. Let us give America a certain percentage of our wealth in return for their military support. You will be fine. Not that you will be saying that Sunday Bogo Alogbe to Kansara to the drone lift fall down, fuck off down. Ojojúmọ́ lẹ fẹ́ máa pa àwọn Fulani. Ojojúmọ́ lẹ fẹ́ máa attack àwọn Fulani. Ojojúmọ́ lẹ fẹ́ máa attack àwọn Igbo. No. Tell America to help you. You do it once and no more. Military support. Fulani has the backing of the English. Who is supporting you, Yoruba or there? Jesus. Oponu. Let's just look at what happened in 1966 again. You've seen that in 1963, when Awolowo was jailed, was imprisoned on a Trump-up charge, Democrat John F. Kennedy was the president of America. Look at what happened in 1966. The Igbo and the Fulani staged a coup and a counter-coup respectively, which brought about the suspension of the parliamentary system of government and the imposition of the unitary system. In 1966, the Igbo and Fulani destroyed our beautiful constitution of Nigeria, which was premised on parliamentary system of government. They destroyed successfully. Who was the president of America? A Democrat, Lyndon B. Johnson. If it happens to be a Republican, he would not have accepted the destruction of parliamentary system. But the Democrats accepted it because they don't care. The Yoruba people wanted the continuation of parliamentary system. But because Democrats were in power, it was fucked up. So today we've been using unitary system, horrible system that has destroyed the Yoruba nation for far too long. Whenever the Democrats are in power, you are always having problem. Big problem. Let us look at what happened in 1967. A civil war started in Nigeria after Igbo declared for Biafra. They bombed Lagos, Yoruba land, and appropriated non-Igbo land under Biafra. The Yoruba people opposed that war and called for a return to the regional system of government. Rather than for the United States to back the Yoruba position, Mr. Johnson, a Democrat who was the president of America at the time, supported the Fulani minority to consolidate the power of the presidency of Nigeria under the fraudulent unitary system. See, most of the problem we have had in Nigeria were as a result of the presidency of America under the Democratic Party. They are not good. That is the truth. In 1970, the civil war that the Igbo started ended. Who helped you to end that civil war? Apart from the fact that we adopted economic blockade as a strategy to stop the war, because we stopped the Igbo from using our waterways. But the war ended in 1970 because a Republican was the president of the United States of America. That man was Richard Nixon. He ended the war. If the Democrat had been in power, the war would have continued for far too long. President Trump fought no single war throughout the duration of his 4-year presidency. Look, Joe Biden is going to start another war very soon. They are warmongers, the Democrats. They are going to start war in Nigeria also. They don't want us Yoruba to be president. They want to continue to steal our wealth. But if you Yoruba, you have common sense. You have 100 pounds. Currently, Fulani are taking 92 of your money. Fulani with English and Igbo. They control 92 pounds of your money. You are left with 8 pounds, which they give you as monthly allocation, security vote, and other nonsense. If you are truly the most educated out of Africa, you will say to America that, oh, here is our 100 pounds. Please have 10 pounds. Help us to secure this 90 pounds. America will like it. That is your solution. You need to give 10% of your wealth to the good people of America in return for military support. If you don't have their military support, we war Olonde, Ifunpa, Bante, Ogunde, àwọn Fulani ti pa wá o, àwọn Fulani ti yẹ̀ sínú oko wa o, olóṣì nǹkan tẹ́ ti ń sọ for years. Àríṣẹ́ o, à ń lọ kú sí desert o, nǹkan tẹ́ máa ṣe kiri ìgboro yẹn. Olóṣì àwọn ọmọ yín máa ṣe olóṣó, àwọn ọmọ yín máa ṣe yahoo. Òpònú, ẹ sọ pé ẹ kàwé, ẹ ka ọgbọ́n ọnú. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ti ya wèrè tẹ́ pera yín Yorùbá. Àwọn ọba yín wọ́n á lé wọn kúrò lórí oyè pẹ̀lú bọn. So if you want your freedom and liberty, you have to talk to America because the Fulani has the English. Òpònú wèrè gbogbo ẹni ti Jésù tó ti kú ti pẹ́ tí ò ní padà wá sílé ayé mọ́. My grandmother died at the age of 102. Even if you give him 30 years, he's in his 70 plus. Had 30 years to his year on earth, 100 years old. When he died, Jesus was a year. So can you fully you negotiate with the superpower for the interest of your children? The war ended in 1970 because the Republicans were in power. If the Democrats were in power, the war would have lingered on for several years. You know what happened in 1979? You don't. I'll tell you. In 1979 was a presidential election after we chased away the military. That election was rigged. Awolowo won that election in 1979. It was rigged. Awolowo went to court, up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said that there can be a half woman being, half a vote. Is that possible? They call it 12-2-3. They used Richard Akinjide or something like that. Is that possible? They were scared to call for a runoff. Because if they have called for a runoff, Awolowo will have won. But the Supreme Court judge, he even said it in that judgment, if you go and read it, he said that I know that this is going to be quoted throughout the world. People are quoting that judgment. How can you have a half woman man? The election should have been runoff. But it wasn't. Why? Because the Democrats were in power in 1979. Who was the president? Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter is the best friend of Obasanjo. He even gave him a contract for wind farm to generate electricity. This was fraudulent. Very fraudulent. So you see, 1979, they rigged Awolowo out. Who was the president of America? Jimmy Carter, a Democrat. Look, now that you have Joe Biden, you have double wahala, Yoruba people. That is the truth. But ibi tó bá ti lé náà máa ń bọ́mọ ọkùnrin. Ibi tó ti lé báyìí náà ń bọ́mọ ọkùnrin. We will weather the storm and secure that presidency in 2023. But we must be willing to negotiate and lobby the good people of the United States of America. That was 1979. Let us quickly go to 1992 and we move straight to 1993. Something happened in 1992. The SDP, a mainly Yoruba political party, won most of the elective position across Yoruba land. It wasn't rigged. That is, the Yoruba have always been voting for conservative. We won everything, almost everything. Who was the president of America at that time? George Bush, a Republican. He was the president of the United States of America. If the Democrat had been in power, but that was 1992. But in 1993, Abiola, a Yoruba man, won the presidential election in Nigeria. The outcome of the election was announced by the Fulani and the Igbo. Who was the president in 1993? Who was the president of America? Bill Clinton, a Democrat. If the Republican had been in power, the Republican wouldn't have allowed Hausa Fulani to announce that election. Abiola would have been president. Abiola would have been president. The Republicans are very good people. Very good. They are conservative. They hate cheating. That's why President Trump is always talking the truth, speaking truth to power. Democrats are always deceiving people. Deceitful party. They're dangerous people. But we will have to negotiate with these people. We will have to. Otherwise, Tinubu won't be president in 2023. That is the truth. And we will be fought the more. I will have to spend the rest of my life in England, and I don't like to. I don't want to. I will be doing shit job, security guard, care work, horrible jobs like that. The future of our children is at stake, guy. So you see, 1992, SDP won all the election. 1993. Abiola won the election, but the election result was announced. Why is that discrepancy? 1992, 1993. The Republicans were in power in 1992. the Democrats were in power in 1993. You see, Cheraye, who were in jubilate, Joe Biden ti wọlé o, ó ti wọlé o, gbàràgbàtẹ́ tó máṣọ, olórí burúkú, ẹ̀sìn yín ló bá ní, ìyẹn tí yà máa jẹ. Wọ́n lò ṣe ẹ máa ní master's degree ọba lọ́wọ́ kábúkábú l'Amẹ́ríkà wèrè ẹ̀dẹ̀ ní oríṣiríṣi ẹni crude oil Fúlàní ò ní crude oil lọ sí NNPC nílẹ̀ Yorùbá wọ́n ní NNPC offices nílẹ̀ Haúsá àwọn ọmọ Haúsá ló ṣiṣẹ́ ńbẹ̀ NNPC offices nílẹ̀ Yorùbá àwọn ọmọ Haúsá náà ló tún ṣiṣẹ́ ńbẹ̀ olórí burúkú olòṣì ìwọ wá ń fọgọ́tà nílùú òyìnbó wá ní ó lè ní Tinubu kò ní dáa fún ó ti ṣe ayé ìyáláyà ẹ ló máa bàjẹ́ ẹni tán ti sàsí olóṣì ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń ṣaṣẹ́wó káàkiri àwọn kan tó máa ń jókòó sórí Facebook tó máa ń jókòó tó máa ń sọ káwọn ṣe ṣó àwọn obìnrin yẹn àwọn lóbò tán kanṣu àwọn tí di wọn ti bàjẹ́ tí di yín rùn wọn máa dànù gbàgà ẹ máa bú Tinubu ẹ̀yin tó rí yín ti dàrú òtútù ti kó sí yín lọ́pọlọ àwọn ọ̀dẹ̀ ẹni crude oil Fúlàní ò ní crude oil Igbo náà ò ní crude oil lọ́sẹ̀ NNPC nílẹ̀ Yorùbá àwọn ọmọ Fúlàní ló ń wọ agbádá wọn ń wọ báṣọ wọn náà ń ṣiṣẹ́ ní NNPC wèrè ẹ̀yin wọn fọgọ́tà ń lo òyìnbó ẹ̀yin tó ìwé ẹ̀yin tó rí ti jí tó ẹ̀kan line up kan yìnbọn fún gbogbo yín dànù stupid people. Tinubu ní ìṣòro wọn Tinubu òun ni Tinubu òun ni wèrè Tinubu ló ní kẹ́ máa fọgbẹ́ kẹ́ máa ṣe kíá Tinubu ló ní kẹ́ máa lọ́kọ kẹ́ máa ṣaṣẹ́wó káàkiri gbogbo London àmọ́ yín ni ẹ̀yin tẹ́ lọ́kọ òṣì tẹ́ jókòó sórí Facebook ẹ máa sọ̀rọ̀ àwọn kan sọ pé àwọn tẹ̀ máa ṣí ọyàn sọ wọn sílẹ̀ wọ́n ní àwọn máa ṣépè fún yín ni àwọn máa ṣí ọyàn àwọn máa ṣí di wọn lẹ̀ jí tó rùn ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń bọ́kùnrin mẹ́wàá sùn lóṣù kan nítorí yín ti dàrú stupid women ọ̀dẹ̀ wọ́n jókòó sórí Facebook ẹ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀ ní intelligent soríṣiríṣi nǹkan burúkú Tinubu ní ìṣòro ayé yín orí nǹkan táwọn expose yín sí ọpọlọ yín ò tún gbé ìgbà tí ẹ pé handout nìkan lẹ́ka ń school wọ́n ń bá yín sùn school náà ní kẹ́ tó lè pass nílùú òyìnbó yìí nílùú òyìn ní England yìí gbogbo àwọn Yorùbá women tó máa ń kàwé yẹn majority of them ọkùnrin ló ń bá wọn ṣe assignment wọ́n lè bá wọn sùn náà ni ẹni tí gbogbo orí yín ti dàrú ṣé Tinubu ló bá yé yín jẹ́ ni àwọn Igbo àti Fúlàní ló fuck up láì yín tí Tinubu bá di president gbogbo yín máa padà wá sílé ni ó máa gbé Yorùbá kúrò ní Nàìjíríà ó máa gbé yín kúrò ní Nàìjíríà ẹ̀yin tẹ́ gọ̀tẹ́ fẹ́nu wọ́ra Tinubu náà ni àwa sọ fún yín pé organized violence ló máa ṣe ẹni pé kọ́lọ́pàá máa gbé wa Sunday Igboho ní ó lọ organized violence and praise ẹ ẹni kúrò yín ti dàrú afún Igbo ní ultimatum pé kán kúrò lù wá ẹni kọ́lọ́pàá wá gbé wa Sunday Igboho fún Fúlàní ní ultimatum and praise ẹ ti yá wèrè that's why they say pick and choose ẹ nífẹ̀ẹ́ Yorùbá ẹ kàn pretend ni a bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí pariwo Odùduwà Republic ní 2012 ẹ sọ pé mi ò níṣẹ́ ó di 2019 wèrè ẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ Odùduwà Audio Republic ẹ ń pariwo káàkiri ẹ ṣe flag ṣe light blue white and green ẹ ń yípo káàkiri gbogbo London ẹ lè fẹ́ gba Odùduwà Republic lọ́wọ́ English tó fẹ́ bàtà yé yín jẹ́ ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ ń bú mi ní 2012 ni ìgbé mi ò níṣẹ́ ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ti yá wèrè ẹ kàn pick and choose what you want to believe orí yín ò pé gbogbo ẹ̀yin obìnrin tẹ́ máa ń jókòó sórí Facebook yẹn tẹ́ ń pera yín ní Odùduwà TV radio orí yín ti dàrú ẹ̀yin ti di yín rùn ẹ̀yin olóbò táǹkàṣù ẹ jókòó ẹ máa bú Tinubu agbódùdúwà yín ní tẹnu yín fẹ́ bí wèrè agbódùdúwà yín ní kíní kan kò ní selection ìbọn náà máa fi fọ́ yín lórí. But let us go because some of the time, guys, this thing gets you infuriated. It gets you upset. How can we claim to be the most educated out of Africa and we are being suppressed and subjugated by minority people? Every nation in Africa, you were against the apartheid rule in South Africa. What is apartheid rule? Minority rule over majority. Because the whites who were ruling black in South Africa were less than 8% of the total population of South Africa. They were minority ruling. So we gang up against them because they were minority, not necessarily because they were white. But Fulani minority has been ruling in Nigeria since 1960. You don't see anything wrong in that because they have black skin. Stupid idiots. So you can see the difference. 1992, we won all the SDP election in Yoruba land, the majority. But 1993, Abiola won election. It was unknown. What is the difference? 1992, we have the Republican in power in America. 1993, we have the Democrat. Whenever the Democrats are in power, they mess your life up, Yoruba. That was why we were telling you, don't vote for these people. But way, ṣebí Jésù nìkan ló wà lórí yín. Bible yẹn gan tẹ́ gbé dání ẹ kì í kà o. Bible tẹ́ máa ń polongo káàkiri yẹn ẹ kì í kà. Sórí nínú àwọn Pentecostal yẹn mo ti understand. Wọ́n máa ń commit sins gan. Àwọn obìnrin wọn, àwọn ọkùnrin wọn, wọ́n máa ṣàgbèrè káàkiri nítorí pé Bible sọ fún wọn pé tán bá ti tọrọ ìdáríjì ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ Jésù á forgive wọn ni. Wọ́n ṣàgbèrè lọ rẹpẹtẹ. Wọ́n boríṣiríṣi ọkùnrin sùn. Wọ́n á jókòó sínú ilé Ọlọ́run dáríjì mi. Wọ́n believe pé Ọlọ́run ti cleansing sin nìyẹn. Wọ́n á tún bẹ̀rẹ̀. Ìmí á lọ jalè, ìmí á ṣe yahoo, ìmí á ṣe aristo. Wọ́n á lọ sí church, wọ́n á lọ́run dáríjì wọn. Èyí tó rí yín ti dàrú. Irú Ọlọ́run òṣìwò lẹ́ ń sìn yẹn. Tẹ́ ń dẹ́ṣẹ̀ tó ń dáríjì yín. Ń dẹ́ṣẹ̀ lójoojúmọ́ ó ń dáríjì yín. Ọlọ́run máa Jésù ti gbé ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ wa lọ wèrè níranù. Lójoojúmọ́ ni Tinubu. Fuck you. Now let's continue, folks. In 1994, Abiola he came to England. He went to America. He went to meet with the Democrats. He was explaining to them, he was meeting with the English also. They were laughing at him. He went to America saying, I won this election. You know how Abiola used to speak. I won this election. I want you to support me. He went to the Democrat. He spoke to the Black caucus, gave them money, support. He has always been supporting them before that. They assured him that we are with you, the Democrats in America. They said, we are with you. He came back to Nigeria. He declared himself that I'm the president-elect. Abacha arrested him in 1994. Who was the president of America? Bill Clinton, a Democrat. In 1996, Abiola's wife, Kudirat, she was murdered by the Fulani minority. Who was the president of America? Democrat, Bill Clinton. What did they do to Fulani? Nothing. Abiola was arrested. Bill Clinton did nothing. Democrat did nothing. His wife was killed in 1996. Bill Clinton was the president of America, a Democrat. He did nothing. In 1998, Abiola himself was assassinated by the Fulani minority with the consent of Bill Clinton, a Democrat, who was the then president of America. He was killed by two American envoys, Thomas Pickering and Susan Rice. They were the people who have been alleged to have poisoned Abiola's tea, who was the president of America, Democrat. But remember, 1962, they declared a state of emergency in Yoruba land and arrested Awolowo. Democrats were in power. John F. Kennedy, a Democrat, was in power when Awolowo was arrested in 1962. Awolowo was jailed for 10 years in 1963. John F. Kennedy, a Democrat, was also in power. Abiola won election in 1993. The election result was unknown. It was cancelled. Who was in power? Fucking Bill Clinton, a Democrat. Abiola was arrested in 1994 and put in prison. Who was in power? Bill Clinton, a Democrat. Abiola's wife was assassinated in 1996. Who was in power? Bill Clinton, a Democrat. In 1998, Abiola was killed. Who was in power? Bill Clinton, a Democrat. Democrat fucked your life up, Yoruba. So those of you who are saying, we have Joe Biden, he's going to agree. You are started celebrating. Joe Biden ti bá wa sọ̀rọ̀. Orí yín ti dàrú. Orí yín ti dàrú. Lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ṣe wí gbogbo yín ṣiṣẹ́ nígbà tí Sunday Igboho tó gbé aṣọ oògùn síta. Ṣé Jésù ló ń pè? Ṣé Muhammed ló ń forí lálẹ̀ fún? Ṣé Pastor Adébóyè ló ń help yín tó fẹ́ bá yín lé Fúlàní lọ? Ṣé Bishop Oyedepo ló ń sọ̀rọ̀ ń pa ẹ̀? Awólọ́wọ̀ tẹ́ ń pè lẹ́ni. Ṣé Christian ni? Kì í ṣe Christian. Ṣé èmi ṣé Christian ni? Ṣé bóríṣà mo believe? Ṣé bóòtọ́ mo máa ń sọ? Tó bá pé Pentecostal Christian ni mi ṣe máa ráyè gbogbo ilé. Bẹ́ẹ̀ máa kàn máa bóríṣiríṣi obìnrin sùn káàkiri àdúgbò yìí. Ẹ̀yin wèrè tẹ́ pera yín Christian tí ẹ pé ẹ sọ pé Jésù jà fún ó jà against injustice. Ṣẹ́yìn ń jà against injustice. Ẹ̀yin wèrè tẹ́ kan ṣaṣẹ́wó káàkiri àdúgbò. Ẹ ń ṣòṣìkiri. Ẹni pé Jésù là ń gbà. Ó ṣe jẹ́ pé àwọn tó bá believe nínú òrìṣà ló máa ń ran Yorùbá lọ́wọ́. Jésù tẹ́ ń pè yẹn ò rí o. But nílùú òyìnbó, tell me why. Gbogbo case tí mo máa ń ṣe, bí mo ṣe ní lérí, mo ṣe ní àwọn church mi ló máa ń help mi. Because wọ́n máa ń ṣe fún charity ni. wọn jọ ẹ̀yin wèrè Pentecostal nílẹ̀ Yorùbá tẹ́ máa gbowó lọ́wọ́ àwọn obìnrin tí ò ní ẹ tún máa bá wọn sùn ẹ tún bọ́ ọmọ kékeré sùn ẹ ń ṣe fún charity. Àwọn ṣọ́ọ̀ṣì ló help èmi lu òyìnbó torí lu òyìnbó ṣọ́ọ̀ṣì títí wọn máa ń ran aláìní lọ́wọ́ ni ẹ̀yin wèrè tẹ́ pé ra yín Pentecostal nílẹ̀ Yorùbá ọ̀gá yín tẹ́ pé ń dání GO àbí pásítọ̀ tẹ́ máa ń kúnlẹ̀ fún ẹlòmíì ń kúnlẹ̀ fún pásítọ̀ ní ṣọ́ọ̀ṣì kò ní respect fọ́kọ ẹ̀ lé òṣì wọn kàn náwó yín lásán o church mi wọ́n yín help mi dọ́là church tí mo ń lọ but mi ń lọ church regularly ìgbà tó bá wù mí ni wọ́n count against me ìgbà tí mo ń lọ church throughout last year except lọ́jọ́ Christmas nítorí pé Godson mi wà lọ́dọ̀ mi mo dẹ̀ láti gbé lọ sí church ó tán wọ́n dẹ̀ rí mi wọ́n dẹ̀ kí mi mo ní lò ẹ̀kànkan náà mo lè wá tí n bá lọ síbẹ̀ fún help wọ́n á ṣe fún mi but church ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ẹ̀yin amúgbówèrè ẹ̀yin tó rí yín ti dàrú Jésù náà ní kẹ́ máa bẹ̀ bó wá bá yín ṣe gbogbo ìgbà tí jẹ́ kẹ́ lò bọ́n ẹ̀ nílò bọ́n ẹ máa wá gbójú ló àwọn olóòṣà ẹ máa look up to àwọn olóòṣà ẹ dẹ̀ sọ pé ẹ ní Jésù ẹ̀yin ọ̀dẹ̀ stupid people. So you can see every time the Democrats are in power in America we're always having problem in Yoruba. Our leaders are always in problem. Look at in 1999. A presidential election took place in Nigeria between Fulani, who was backed by the Yoruba people, and Obasanjo, who was backed by the Fulani and the Igbo. But the election was rigged. The election was rigged because the Middle Belt voted massively for Olufalaye. The Yoruba voted massively for him. We took some vote in the South-South. We took the majority of the vote in Kanuri region. But Hausa, Fulani, and Igbo voted for Obasanjo. That election was rigged. There ought to be a runoff, but they didn't do it. They didn't do it. Who was the president of America in 1999? Again, Bill Clinton, the Democrats. They fuck you up. What happened in 2003? You want me to remind you? Obasanjo, he was the sitting president. He brought out to rig that election. You have to know this, I've told you. Since elections started nationally in Nigeria, it started in 1959. General election in Nigeria started in 1959. Before then, Yoruba, we've been voting since 1923. Every time election is conducted since 1959, it is the presidential election that comes last. Last. It is this monkey, Wiri, Obasanjo, Olori Buruku, Olushi, and take one masun pani. One masun all them a journey. Olushi ko logmo, irolo npa fún yín, kò ṣoògùn náà fi ṣe nǹkan kan. Irolo pa. Èmi àwọn ancestor tèmi, bàbá, grandfather mi àti grandmother mi, wọ́n gbowó kan tó kú, wọ́n ìṣọ́ mi. Obasanjo ológun kankan, Olushi ni èèyàn ni. Òun ló jẹ́ kí wọ́n máa ṣe presidential election first. Wọ́n ṣe rí láti 1959. Olórí burúkú, òun ló gbalẹ̀ wa lọ́wọ́ wa nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. Òun ló gba gbogbo oko wa lọ́wọ́ wa. Òun ló gbomi wa lọ́wọ́ wa. Olóṣì, òun ló gba television wa lọ́wọ́ wa. Òun ló gba stadium wa lọ́wọ́ wa. Olórí burúkú tí ò ní kú síbi táṣọ ẹ̀ wà. Ayé ẹ̀ máa bàjẹ́ ni. Ó máa ní ṣòro nílẹ̀ Yorùbá kó tó kú. Bàbẹ́ olórí burúkú, òun ló ń ṣe first flag tó fẹ́ dógun sílẹ̀ Yorùbá torí pé kò fẹ́ yẹ kí Tinubu jẹ president. Olóṣì ní 2003. Ó gbé presidential election to be the first in Nigeria. It has never been. Nǹkan tó change yẹn náà fi rig election. That's how they rig election since then. If the presidential election had been held as the last after governorship election, state house of assembly election, the presidential election wouldn't have been so easily rigged. He wanted to rig the election. He brought it forward in 2003. He rigged all the election with the military and police across Yoruba land, but he was denied victory in the most important state in Yoruba land. Whoever rule Lagos, it is like you are ruling a nation. Lagos is the 5th largest economy in Africa. Obasanjo did everything humanly possible to rig that election in Lagos. He lost it in 2003. Who was the president of America? Who? George W. Bush, a Republican. If a Democrat had been the president, we would have lost Lagos. I told you, when the Republicans are in power, that is the best of time for the Yoruba nation. In 2007, You know, Obasanjo rigged the election in 2003. In 2007, Tinubu again kept Lagos State out of the hands of the enemy of the Yoruba nation. He was able to retain Lagos State. Obasanjo was the sitting president in 2007. He conducted the election of 2003. He conducted the election of 2007. He brought out the military. He brought out the police. He brought out everybody to rig Lagos State. Tinubu secured it for the Yoruba nation. It was the only state that was won by the conservative, who was the president of America at that time, Republican Party, George W. Bush. God bless the Republican Party of the United States. They help us a lot, but you don't see this thing. Nítorí pé ẹ mọ̀wé ni, kò ń ṣe pé àwọn èèyàn mọ nǹkan tó ń pè ní ìwé, kéèyàn mọ̀wé kó ní intelligent. So tá bá ti lọ sí yunifásítì, wọ́n ń kọ́ wa bá ṣe lè ronú ni. Tá bá ti jáde ní nǹkan tó ń kọ́ wa yẹn máa wà lára wa. Ẹ̀yin tẹ̀lé make simple observation. Ẹ wá ń sọ pé ẹ mọ̀wé. Ẹni pé Yorùbá is the most educated out of Africa. Ẹ ti yá wèrè. Ẹ̀yin tó ń gba omi yín mọ́ yín lọ wèrè. Tó bá pọlọ́pàá sí pé kéèsì àwọn olè jalè ní ẹ̀, ó lè jẹ́ pé Igbo ló wá wá. Tí ẹ lè ṣẹlẹ̀ ní England, kó pọlọ́pàá kó jẹ́ pé Scottish ló máa bá ẹ, àbí kó jẹ́ pé dúdú ló máa wá rush bọ̀. Yorùbá ti lu kó ti pẹ́ wèrè àwọn ló fòkè tù. So again, we were able to retain Lagos in 2007 because the Republicans were in power. So why could Democrat look at what happened in 2008. Tinubu began to win back some of the states that Obasanjo had rigged against the Yoruba party. Yeah, he was going to court. Tinubu started going to court in 2007 after the election. He started winning back some of the states Obasanjo had rigged, who was in power in 2008. George W. Bush, a Republican, was the president of America. Now let's quickly look at 2011. The Yoruba nation, we have this stupid man called Jonathan. He's the most illiterate person that I've ever had power in Nigeria. It's actually with PhD, you know, he's so illiterate. His people have been clamoring for a return to regional government. He had power for 5 years and he did absolutely nothing. He even talked like weary people. Obama threatened to kill him if he doesn't hand over power. Idiot doesn't have the sense of talking to the Republican in America to back him up. Stupid man. He was creating additional states. You know, it was Aguiyi Ironsi who created the 36 states. He called them 36 provinces. In 1966, it is the 36 states we have now. You know, Jonathan has also created 54 states. You ignore. If in 2023 we don't take the presidency, another Fulani can come and create and give you 54 states that has already been created by Jonathan. Stupid man. Is running Nigeria like America. Is Nigeria a land of the immigrant? No, Nigeria is a land of its indigenous population. America is the land of the immigrant. Foreigners are in America, whether you are white or black. You're a foreigner in America. Is it possible for you to see a black man to be called Chinese in China? Is that possible? No. Is it possible to see a black man in England being called English? No. Is it possible to see a Chinese man being called Germans in Germany? No. It's only Germans that will forever be Germans. But if you go to America, if you are a Chinese man, you go to America, you will become an American citizen. If you are a Yoruba man, you go to America, you become an American citizen. Why is that the case? Because America is the land of the immigrant. Foreigners are there. The real owner of America have been killed by white people. That is it. So the stupid people, they want to turn Nigeria into America. If you want to turn Nigeria to America, you have to do what happened to the Native Americans, to all the indigenous people in Nigeria. You kill all of them and bring people from Ghana, bring people from South Africa, bring people from Zimbabwe, bring people from China, bring everything and turn them into Nigerians. That was how America became American. Stupid Jonathan in 2011, we voted for him. He was begging Tinubu, he was going to Bodilon, begging Tinubu. Buhari contested the election in 2011 likewise. Who were these followers of Buhari in 2011? Ayo Adebanjo, the stupid old man who called himself 92 years old, 94, that is always talking shit every time. These are the people that were selling Buhari to Yoruba people in 2011. And Yinka Odumaki, horrible smelling idiot, married to Igbo woman. They sold Buhari to us in 2011. We rejected him. We didn't vote for him. But what? We voted for Jonathan in 2011. What did he do, the stupid man? When he became president, Jonathan, he relegated the Yoruba to the background. He elevated the Igbo and Hausa Fulani. Who was the president of America in 2011 when Yoruba were relegated to the background? Tell me the name. Barack Obama, a Democrat. Every time you are being treated very badly, you will see Democrat in power. In 2014, Jonathan populated a stupid national conference with half Yoruba and non-Yoruba masquerading as Yoruba people to undermine the Yoruba nation. Ganiyu Adamu, a Nupe citizen, he was there at the national conference representing the Yoruba nation. Mr. Tunde Bakare, who is actually Sani Arewa Jr., he represented the Yoruba. He's a Fulani man. Ayo Adebanjo, he represented the Yoruba. Yinka Odumaki, whose children are half Igbo, his wife is Igbo. These are the stupid people that were representing us at the Jonathan National Conference in 2014. We rejected that national conference. Yato. Yoruba were not put in that national conference. Very few full-blooded Yoruba were put there. We were relegated to the background. We full-blooded Yoruba, non-Yoruba were representing us as Yoruba people. Who was the president of America at that time in 2014? Barack Obama. I actually don't like the guy. I used to debate with my brother-in-law. Then when Obama first won his election, I supported him. I said he's going to win, and I won that bet. My brother-in-law said he's not going to win. He won. But when you look at his government, he killed Gaddafi. He did a lot of shit. And that was when black people were being shot here and there every time. It was bullshit. He was just going from one war to another. He went to Syria. He went to Afghanistan. He was in Libya. He fucked up big time. I don't have respect for him. I regretted supporting him that time. You understand? Now, let me end this historical precedent with something unique, which you all know, 2020. They have Yoruba, Igbo, and the Fulani. They attacked Tinubu businesses across Lagos. They destroyed most of his businesses. They attempted to kill him, but he survived the attack. Why? It was because Donald Trump was the president of the United States of America. God bless him, a Republican. If the president of America had been a Democrat, when the HENSAS started, Tinubu would have been killed because they were heading for his house. But thanks to President Trump, that some of you stupid Yoruba you hate, he saved the ass of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So folks, it is a historical fact that every time the Democrats are in power in America, the Yoruba nation has always been suppressed. The moment President Trump concedes, Buhari released two statements. First, he says he will stop Boko Haram insurgency this year. He said he's going to stop Boko Haram insurgency this year. You know what he meant by that? He was hoping for the intervention of the United States government under Mr. Biden, a Democrat, to the Lake Chad Basin Commission. Lake Chad Basin Commission is a military arm of the Fulani to overrun the entire West African coast, which was co-founded by Obama administration and Mr. Buhari, with the hope that Hillary Clinton will have won the presidency in 2006. Yeah, as president. Buhari would then have used that command to launch coordinated ISIS attack and the takeover of West African coast, particularly Yoruba. But we have to thank President Trump to stop all of this. We are internally grateful to President Trump, and God will continue to bless him wherever he is. That was what they wanted to use the Lake Chad Basin Commission to do, to launch ISIS attack on the entire West African coast and take over Yoruba land. They are going to try that. But we, the Yoruba Youth Conservative, will work with the conservative in America, who are the Republican. We will work with them, we will lobby them, we will follow everything through so that we can be protected as a nation, Yoruba nation. The second statement made by Buhari was that he will not hand over to Treasury looter. The moment President Trump was declared president-elect, he was not sworn in then, President Biden rather. The moment he was declared as president-elect, Buhari issued two statements saying that he will end Boko Haram insurgency this year, believing that the Democrats will come to his aid. And secondly, he said that he will not hand over power to Treasury looter. They have always been referring to Tinubu as corrupt. He was governor under Obasanjo presidency, under Yar'Adua presidency, under Jonathan presidency, and under Buhari. They have been taking him to court. He has not been even convicted of one single act of corruption. But every time they tell you, he owns this, he owns that, he owns this. When I was working with Conrad, I don't spend my salary. Our dealers will come and give me money. It's what I spend. When I used to work with Standard Chartered Bank, it's a policy. If customer give you anything, you have to declare. I have been given rice, chicken, eggs, beer, and everything. I have to declare it to my bosses. They will ask me to take it home. Ibi tá tin ṣe la tin jẹ ẹ̀yin olóṣì PDP olórí burúkú tí ò ní dá fún yàrá ìyá bàbá yín ẹ̀yin wèrè olófòkètò gbogbo ayé yín Tinubu ni. That was the statement made by Buhari, that he will not hand over to Treasury looter, telling you that he is not going to hand over to Tinubu. Tinubu is not a Treasury looter. Obasanjo used Ribadu against Tinubu. They found nothing on him. Jonathan arrested him, took him to court. He was found not guilty. What else are you going to say? We know what Buhari is saying. He's telling you that he's not going to hand over to Tinubu. But I tell you one thing. Believe you me, our generation will change the course of history. We're going to lobby America, and we will shame the English national and the English establishment who are working day and night to continue to suppress the Yoruba nation. Your police are always watching me, stupid people. I know I'm in your country. I don't like it because you hate me. You arrest me like a common criminal every now and then. In my own homeland, that is how we're going to arrest your whole national, like common criminals. Because I believe in tit for tat. You cannot be arresting me every now and then of my life, and I will embrace your home people when I get back to my own country. You fucked up. You think we don't know the game? We do. It is because of your government in England that is corrupt, stealing the Yoruba wealth. That's why people like us are here. We don't want to be here. We're not happy. We face discrimination. We face harassment. Nobody should go through that. We want to go back to our homeland and make it great, but your government is so corrupt, stealing Yoruba wealth, you're keeping Nigeria as one. So that was what Buhari said. You know, he was so bold saying this, I'm not going to hand over to Treasury looter, idiot, a criminal. Buhari is a criminal. Go and look at his history. He stole NNPC money. He said to you that he was borrowing money to get his farm. Idiot. He has so much money. He has a house in London. Look at the wealth, stupendous wealth of his children. Is this from his fucking salary? A corrupt man saying that I'm not going to hand over to Treasury looter. You are a Treasury looter. What is the wealth of Hausa Fulani that you are taking the lion's share of the money that belongs to Yoruba? Are you not corrupt? You, Hausa Fulani, you don't have crude oil, but you control our crude oil in Yoruba land. You are the one controlling NNPC. Is that not corruption? You don't have waterways. Hausa Fulani, they don't have waterways. We Yoruba don't have job. Hausa Fulani are controlling our waterways. Is that not corruption? The idiot say, I am not going to hand over to Treasury looter. You a fucking corrupt man. It's indirectly telling you that it's not going to hand over to Tinubu. Believe you me, our generation will change the course of history. I hope you guys will come to court. Look at the way I speak. I'm well prepared for the trial. You know, my trial is in May. You come to court and learn. Youth, come. My grandfather challenged the English. I will end the stupidity of the English. over the subjugation of the Yoruba nation. So it's a direct attack on Tinubu, an indication of what the Fulani minority intended to do to stop Tinubu from becoming president of Nigeria in 2023. They have always made unfounded claims of corruption against Tinubu from the time of Nuru Ribadu as the EFCC chairman. They found nothing on him. Nothing on him. You know, I was arrested for terrorism, but I was not charged for terrorism. I wasn't. What they charged me for is calling me racist. That's what the English police have charged me for. But I'm a nationalist. I'm like the conservative politicians in England. They are nationalists. I'm like Republican Party candidates or elected member. They're nationalists. I'm not a racist. I'm a nationalist. I think about the interest of the Yoruba foremost. I care less about what happened to Fulani. I care less about what happened to Igbo people. So the Fulani, led by Buhari and Obasanjo, a half Igbo, half Yoruba, have been emboldened by the victory of Joe Biden. They have been emboldened. You understand? They have been emboldened because Joe Biden won. Somebody is just reminding me. Idiot Buhari is saying that I am not going to hand over to Treasury Luther. You are building things in Niger Republic with Yoruba money. Stupid man. Very corrupt. Look at the wealth that was found with his children. That is how they behave. Look at Obasanjo. He's not happy. He's feeling pompous. Yeah, we have the Democrat. Because he's always been working with Democrats. Trump relegated him to the background. Nobody listened to him. But I assure you one thing, Obasanjo. Look, my generation, we will close the deal. Olori Buruku ngba ti wo wa in your early 40s. O ti ń rule now. 39 years kọ́ head of state ni. Oloshi Olori Buruku at 80 plus. Entire year ò ní dá. Ó ìfẹ́ máa sọ̀rọ̀ fún Yorùbá. Kò ní dá bàtà pátá padàndàn etí ẹ̀. Olori Buruku Oloshi. Òun náà issue letter. Òun congratulate Joe Biden. Ayé máa bàjẹ́ ni. Kò ní dá fún ẹ bí tó wà. Olori Buruku èèyàn. In our early 40s, and she got and she 39 years old, call it the head of state. Olori Ibu de fe dákẹ́. Ọ̀rẹ́ Jimmy Carter, ṣé bó ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ káàkiri nìyẹn. Ayé ẹ máa bàjẹ́ ni wọ Ọbásanjọ́ olóṣì èèyàn. Olófòkètò. Ṣé tá bá ti pé 60 ní ká máa rúlu Nàìjíríà? Àbí ká máa rúlu ilẹ̀ Yorùbá? Olófò. Ó jẹ́ president 1976. Olóṣì. Ó jẹ́ ti 1979. Ó tún padà wá ní 1999. Ó kúrò ńbẹ̀ ní 2007. Ó jẹ́ president lẹ́ẹ̀mẹ́ta. Olórí burúkú olóṣì ọmọ Igbo. Ìwà Igbo tó wà lára ẹni ò jẹ́ ó dákẹ́. Jimmy Carter tó jẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́ ẹ̀ ó ti dákẹ́ kò dá sọ̀rọ̀ kò tí ẹ lọ síbi kankan. Olóṣì ìgbà tó ń bá máa ṣe wàá paralyze tó yẹ kí wàá máa rìn bí wèrè káàkiri ìgboro. Wọ́n máa gbé e sórí wheelchair. Tó ń bá máa bá tiẹ̀ jẹ́ olóṣì. Èèyàn bú. Ìgbà wo la bá máa rú Nàìjíríà? Olófò. At our age now, we're useless, not doing anything because of this terrible man. He was very happy when Joe Biden was announced as president-elect. He believes that he's going to have another power to suppress the Yoruba. We will suppress you, Obasanjo. The Fulani and half Yoruba are aware that every time the Democrats control American presidency, the Yoruba nation loses its most important political leader, either to imprisonment or murder. In their opinion, people like Buhari and Obasanjo, they think Tinubu will follow the same path as Awolowo or Abiola. In a private conversation, Obasanjo recently boasted about pressurizing Joe Biden to support the candidacy of Sule Lamido, a Fulani, for the presidency of Nigeria in 2023. I assure you, you're going to fail. Oma fail, ni say. Awala mbasi ya eshishen sin. Awala mba America soron sin. O le ti lenu mbere. O wa relevant mo. àdèmà bàtì ẹ̀jẹ̀ ńlẹ̀ Yorùbá ni tọ́lọ́run bá máa ṣe ó máa paralyze ni tó o ò ní lè sọ ó máa rí bí Babangida ó máa paralyze láti ẹnu délẹ̀ okú ẹ̀gbọ́n ò ní ṣiṣẹ́ olórí burúkú ńgbà tó jẹ́ president ó ń bá àwọn ìyàwó níyàwó sùn olùṣí ó tún bá ìyàwó ọmọ ẹ̀ sùn kò ní dáa fún ẹ Ọbásanjọ́ kò ní sunwọ̀n fún ẹ bó ṣe bá tilẹ̀ Yorùbá jẹ́ pẹ̀lú bí mo ṣe kàwé tó mo dèrò ní England mi ò rí kan ṣe kan ní England ìlú òṣì táwọn ọlọ́pàá arrest anyhow ṣé nǹkan tó jẹ́ kí Yorùbá máa pass through sí ní 2021 Ọbásanjọ́ ó máa paralyze ni láti orí ẹ̀ délẹ̀ ó máa paralyze ni ẹni bí. That is what they are thinking will happen to Tinubu. They are jubilating, saying that Tinubu will either go the way of Awolowo or Abiola. It is you, Obasanjo, that you will be paralyzed this year. Àṣẹ́gun, ó ti sọ fún ẹ pé a kì í gbórí àjàṣòro, a kì í bálágbára pẹjọ́ bí òkè àwọlé àgbọn mi règún. Ó máa paralyze ní Ọbásanjọ́. Gbogbo àwọn irúmọlẹ̀ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ti fàṣẹ sí. Ò ní rí bá ti ṣe ò ní rọ́nà gbígbà. Èèyàn bí kò tún jẹ́ instead of kó support Tinubu kó jẹ́ president olórí burúkú ó tún fẹ́ máa support Sule Lamido ó máa jóná mọ́nú ilé ẹni. In private, that is what he was boastful. When people went to see him after Joe Biden was declared president-elect, he was saying that I'm going to talk to Joe Biden. He's going to support Sule Lamido for 2023. Ayé yàrá ìjà ẹ̀ máa bàjẹ́ ní Ọbásanjọ́. Olórí burúkú. He said that his contact within the Democratic Party in USA could help to stop Tinubu presidential ambition. It was the people that are behind the Barapa First flag. They want to cause war in Yoruba land. They believe that will stop Tinubu presidency. That will force Tinubu to back down. They are putting pressure on Tinubu not to contest. You see, this is what is going to happen. By the time Tinubu is declared as the presidential candidate of the APC, they will intensify their propaganda. These are the people who say they want to go to war with Fulani. They will not fight any war. If they mean well, by now we should be hearing a full-blooded Yoruba as the candidate of the PDP for 2023. Are you hearing that? No. The only thing we hear is attack and attack and attack on Tinubu. But let me say this to you, Fulani and the Yoruba Libra. Our generation can do something to keep these people from using the Democrat to undermine the greatness of the Yoruba nation. We can stop them, young Yoruba. I want you to listen to me. Yes, a loving President Donald Trump is no longer in control of the American nuclear arsenal. President Trump will not be in charge of the federal agency or most likely his own Twitter account. This can be upsetting for you, conservative. But as conservative, this is the truth. This reality cannot be changed. The rest of us, however, will still be here. We have no other homeland than Yoruba land. What is life going to be like for the Yoruba nation under the Democrats? Not many people seem to be thinking about this reality. Up to and including the people who pay to think about it, our Yoruba Obas and our political leaders in Yoruba land. They are not thinking about what is likely going to happen to the Yoruba nation under Joe Biden as the president of America. Donald Trump believes exclusively in white American first. The same is true for every Caucasian Democrat and Republican in Congress. All of them, every one of them think about white American first. This is what I said to my sister. Because Joe Biden is the president of America, he's a Caucasian. Do you think he's going to think about the interests of African American first before white? You think Joe Biden will ensure that there are more black people in America than there are whites? You think Joe Biden because he's won the election, that he will undermine the interests of the white Americans? No. Whether you are Caucasian in the Democratic Party or in the Republican Party, they all think about white American first. Folks, who is thinking about Yoruba first? Who has the concern of the Yoruba nation at heart? Who wakes up in the middle of the night worried about your family? As far as we can tell you tonight, no one does. That is the main thing we need to change. President Trump think about white American first. Every Republican, every Democrat that are Caucasian, they think about white American first. Who is thinking about Yoruba first? Who is worried about your family as a Yoruba citizen? There's nobody. Young Yoruba. This is the main thing we need to change. The Yoruba nation finds herself in a precarious situation in which the Nigerian state has subjected all of Yoruba land. Yoruba land is under the occupation of three pillars of evil, and this is severely devastating. Number one, the Hausa and Fulani have invaded Yoruba forests to occupy our arable lands with their cattle and have taken over the Yoruba political and economic processes that create, sustain, and transform a society. The Hausa Fulani control our waterways. They control our seaport. They control our airport. They control our customs. They control our land borders. They control our immigration. They control our prison, our police, our military, our intelligence services, the senior civil services. The Fulani control our taxation, our economy, the mineral and natural resources we have in Yoruba land. They control our judiciary. They control our church, the mosque, and the traditional religion, as well as our others. That is the pillar, the three pillars of evils that we have in Yoruba land, Hausa Fulani. Number two is the Igbo people. They have invaded our cities, towns, and villages, committing all manners of crimes, including armed robbery, vandalism, prostitution, drug trafficking, human trafficking, child trafficking, organized crime, and they are using the proceeds of these criminal activities in Yoruba land to take over and dominate the economic life of the Yoruba nation by buying off our ancestral homeland, our properties, building of superstructures, superstore, supermarkets, and then they control our medicine store, our building materials, auto spare parts, and computer hardwares across Yoruba. It's a dangerous situation for the Yoruba nation. These three pillars of evils. Number three is the English and other foreigners, particularly the Chinese and the Indians, with the support of the Fulani minority in charge of the presidency of Nigeria. The English, the Chinese, and the Indians and rest of the foreigners have taken over the total control of Yoruba macroeconomies. They are the people deciding the performance, structure, behavior, and decision-making of the Yoruba nation economy as a whole. This is where we're suppressed and subjugated. This is the three pillars of evil that is devastating our homeland. Without pleading, lobbying, and trading certain percentage of our wealth and resources with the good people of the United States, these three pillars of evil will continue to suppress and subjugate us. The Fulani control our forests now. They control our political and economic processes. These are the processes that create, sustain, and transform society. What are these things? Our waterways, our seaport, our airport, our immigration, our prison, our police, our military, our intelligence services, our land borders, our mineral and natural resources, our judiciary. Hausa Fulani control our churches, they control our mosques, they control the traditional religion, and they control our orders. How can we then create, sustain, and transform our society? The Igbo, on the other hand, they have invaded our cities, our towns, and our villages. They are committing all manners of criminal activities, including armed robbery, vandalism, prostitution, human trafficking, drug trafficking, child trafficking. You remember baby factory? They've taken over our economic life. They control our computer hardwares. They control our medicine store. They control our auto spare part. They control every facet of our economic life. And we are saying we are the most educated out of Africa. The number 3 axis of evil is England and other foreigners, particularly the Chinese and the Indians. They have taken over the macroeconomic of Yoruba land. They control every damn thing. They control the performance, structure, behavior, and decision-making process of the Yoruba economic life as a whole. We can't stop them without the good people of the United States of America. God will bless America. We need the support of that country. We have been totally subjugated. It will amount to outright war for us to be free. But we can stop this if we lobby America. Foreigners, including Hausa, Fulani, Igbo, English, Chinese, and Indians, they control the economic growth, full employment, and price stability in Yoruba land. Foreigners. The huge economic consequences of this is that since 1966, the Yoruba nation has been subjugated by the Igbo on one hand and the Fulani minority on the other hand. The Yoruba nation has thus been unable to meet the 17 sustainable development goals of a developed nation. Number 1, we cannot control poverty. It is because of poverty, unemployment, squalor, wretchedness that Yoruba people, who are the economic backbone of Nigeria, who have crude oil in Lagos, Ogun, Ondo, and Ishekiri land, are poor. People with crude oil. People who have the waterways. It is only the Yoruba waterways that services more than 7 independent nations. But we are poor still. Without our waterways, nothing can go to middle belt of Nigeria. Without our waterways, Fulani cannot get anything from abroad. Without our waterways, the Kanuri people cannot get anything. Without our waterways, the Niger Republic, Chad Republic can't sustain themselves, even Burkina Faso. Yet, we're washing toilets in England. We're doing kabu-kabu in America. We cannot control poverty. A nation with such a wealth. All these are the sustainable development of a nation, which we are still struggling with. Hunger is killing us. With all this wealth, imagine if we have 3 ports already in Lagos. Apapa Wharf, Tinker Port, and another one in Lekki. We build another one in Ogun, called Awolowo Port, making 4. We build another one in Ondo, making 5. We build another one in Ishekiri land, making 6. Imagine with that 6 port, servicing all the countries I have mentioned, you know the number of wealth we will have. We will have eradicated hunger in Yoruba land. But foreigners are controlling our waterways. So that's why we are poor. That's why you see me in England. Stupid police are arresting me every time, making a joke out of my life. We can't curb hunger. We have no good health and well-being in Yoruba land because all of our wealth, they control it. Even our international airport is named after a Fulani man. But you go to Hausa Fulani International Airport, it's named after their own son, Aminu Kano. Igbo International Airport is named after their own son, Akamu Ibro. Our own international airport is named after a foreigner. They define you the way you have expressed yourself, conquered people. We don't have good health care. Lagos International Airport, which they call Muritaramu, generate $180 million. People are dying who live in Ikeja and its environment. They're dying because they are emitting CO2 emission, killing them. No health care for them. If we control the income tax that is being paid by companies in Yoruba land, we will fund free and qualitative health care. But we don't have it. That's why the stupid police in England think that we don't have alternative to their shit country. That's why they harass us, they intimidate us every now and then in their country. But it's their government that is making Yoruba land poor, wretched, and miserable, suppressing us. We can't have good health care. We have no qualitative education. Don't you see our children on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter? If they are not selling sex, they are into fashion. They are selling drugs, and they are doing hotel or any other manners of nonsense. How many of them do you see trying to figure out how we can do vaccine for COVID-19? Malaria kills us more than coronavirus, but we've not been able to develop a vaccine for malaria. But we rely on drugs produced from abroad for malaria. What stops us from developing a vaccine for malaria? Because we have bad education. We don't have qualitative education. That is why you see people, black stupid people from Nigeria, telling you don't take COVID-19 vaccine, they are going to use it to kill you. Idiot, why don't you develop your own? Your education is bad. Everything we sell on social media is sex. Sex, sex, sex. That's the only thing you know. And to call Jesus Christ. We used to have gender equality across Yoruba land until regional government was suspended. We don't have again. Have you ever seen any clean water and good sanitation? Look at Lagos State. 6.9 million Igbo are trooping into Lagos State every year. They're selling their wares on our road. Everywhere is dirty. Look at Ogun State, dirty. Oyo State, dirty. We don't even have clean water in our home, yet we have the wealth. We have crude oil. We have other mineral and natural resources. We have waterways. We have human capital. People are paying tax. Foreigners who want to come and invest in Nigeria would rather come to Yoruba land. All the taxes being generated across our space, we cannot use this to sustain our own society because we've been suppressed. Minority Fulani are ruling us. Horrible Yoruba PDP. The only thing they think about is attack on Tinubu. Tell them to go to war with Fulani. They are afraid. But they attack Tinubu every day and night. We told them, if you are serious, go to war with the Fulani. That is what I started with. Go to war with the Fulani. Let Tinubu and co. take the presidency from the Fulani. Head or tail, a Yoruba land will be great. And Yoruba people will take power. We don't have clean water and good sanitation. There is no affordable and clean energy. You don't have electricity. Imagine if Igbo don't have electricity, Yoruba too don't have electricity, Hausa Fulani too don't have electricity. Because we centralized power. In 1952, we wanted to use nuclear energy to generate electricity. The irresponsible English establishment stopped us because they don't want us to develop nuclear bomb. Stupid people. And they have charged me with fuel in racial hatred. Same racist. Is that not racist? You stop a nation from using nuclear energy to generate electricity. In South Africa, they have nuclear bomb. India has nuclear bomb. Pakistan has nuclear bomb. What stopped the Yoruba from having the same thing? We don't have affordable and clean energy, no electricity in our home. These are things that we need to plead and plead with the government of the United States to listen to us. We need to tell Joe Biden that what we agreed to was a parliamentary system of government, not this unitary system. We need to say to Joe Biden that at least California is a democratic state. It is the governor of California who controls the crude oil in California. Why is it that we Yoruba can't control our crude oil? Why must our crude oil be controlled by the federal government? We should say to Joe Biden that it is the government in California that controls their own taxes. Why is it that we can't control our own taxes in Yoruba land? We should say to Joe Biden that it is the government in California that controls their own national guard, which is their own military. Why is it that we cannot control our own military in Yoruba land? We should say to Joe Biden that it is the government of California that controls their own police. Why is it that we Yoruba can't control our own police? We need to talk to the United States of America, regardless of the fact that it is a Democrat that is there. We don't have decent work and economic growth. That's why you have PhD, you have master's degree, you have Bachelor of Science degree, you come and wash toilet and clean their offices in London. You go and drive Uber in America. No decent work and economic growth in Yoruba land. There's no industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Our children are not innovative. I used to look, I don't know this Instagram Nigeria or Instablog, all of these horrible Instagram pages. It is sex, sex, sex. All of these, they call it comedy skits, or what do you call it? Mr. Macaroni. It is about sex. If they are not showing us breasts, they are showing us big asses. It's all they do. All the comedy they do is about sex. Our children are not innovative. They cannot sit in laboratory and develop things that will add value to our life because we don't have qualitative education. We can't reduce inequality. Really, it's crazy. If you look at federal government agencies in Yoruba land, compare it with federal government agencies in Hausa Fulani land. You go to Hausa Fulani, for instance, immigration in Hausa Fulani land. You go there. The people working there are 90-point-something% Hausa Fulani children. You come to immigration in Yoruba land, which comes under the federal government agency. Immigration in Yoruba land, you will still see the majority of their staff as Hausa Fulani. You go to NNPC depot in Hausa Fulani land, they are predominantly Hausa people working there. Go to NNPC depot in Yoruba land, it is still Hausa Fulani people predominantly working there. Go to the police in Hausa Fulani land, it is Hausa Fulani who are predominantly police officers in Hausa Fulani land. Come to observe police in Yoruba land, it is this the same Hausa Fulani who are predominantly. That's why you work abroad. You live horrible life abroad. There is no inequality. There is inequality all over the place. You go to Apapa Wharf in Yoruba land, Fulani don't have water. It is Hausa Fulani people that you see predominantly working there. That's why idiot English police can harass us Yoruba in England. They believe that we don't have alternative to their country. They take us for a fool. This is inequality. Look at my friend that I started with. She's now in Ukraine with 2 master's degrees already. The only job they offer her is to work in a call center. We cannot sustain our cities and our communities. No sustainable development. Look at how Lagos is. We cannot even cover our drainages. People are selling on our streets. There's no affordable housing in Lagos because we allow Igbo to troop in. We allow Hausa Fulani to troop in. We cannot regulate people coming into our space. That is why Fulani can go into our forest and be kidnapping our people. That is why Igbo can come and do armed robbery in Yoruba. We don't have sustainable city. They are building a new capital in China. When was the last time we created a new city in Yoruba land? 18th centuries. There is no responsible consumption and production of goods. You drink beer in Yoruba land, the taxes go and fund development in Hausa Fulani land where they don't consume alcohol. There's no responsible consumption. This is bad. These are what we need to expose Joe Biden to, so that we can stop this horrible Obasanjo and this horrible Fulani who are happy that Joe Biden is the president of America, that they want to suppress us. We need to speak up. It's a shame on you if you don't speak up. There's no climate change action. Lagos has 30% of the total vehicles in Nigeria. CO2 is killing people in Lagos. If we have returned back to regional government, perhaps we will be using electric car. I understand that that might even cause another problem. But nobody is controlling this. People are just trooping down to Lagos. People don't want to stay in their city. They hate their towns. They dislike their villages. All of them are just trooping down into your space, unregulated. Nobody is looking at the life below water. Our ocean. There is currently overfishing going on in our ocean in Yoruba land. Foreigners are bringing their trolleys, their ship, to take our fishes. Nobody is looking about that. It took the UK and the EU several years to negotiate an agreement because of fishes. There is no peace, justice at all. There's no justice. You go all out. Look at the way Amana police are killing people in Yoruba land because they are foreigners. You put guns in the hands of foreigners, they'll destroy you. There is no partnership to achieve our goals. Yoruba cannot go to America and negotiate for a trade deal. We cannot. We are a nation. We should be able to do that. So we can't forge partnership. Every time we've had problems, there are two major problems that we've had as Yoruba people. That of 1962, 1963, and that was 1993 to 1998, when Awolowo and Abiola were decimated. No single country in Africa came to help the Yoruba nation. But we were helped by the Scandinavian countries who are white. If we have gone back to regional government, we'll be able to forge a partnership with these people. They love us. We did so much for Mandela when he was put in prison. When he came out of prison, he became president in 1994. We Yoruba approached him, pleaded with him to help us, to bring out MK Abiola from prison. He denied us. This was a country that we did so much for. But the Scandinavian country were helping us. These are people we should forge partnership with. Every single war we fought with the English in the 18th and 19th century, the Portuguese, the Brazilians have always come to our aid. We need to forge a partnership with them. We cannot, because we run a useless unitary system. America as a country has never colonized us. We need to forge a partnership with them. We cannot. We can't develop because of the unitary system. All of these things that I've listed, they will not change. We will continue to be suppressed and subjugated as a Yoruba nation without reaching out to the United States of America for support to end the subjugation of the Yoruba nation by the minority Fulani and the Igbo who have the backing of the English establishment. We will continue to be suppressed. There is nothing Sunday Igboho and millions of him can do. We need the backing of the good people of the United States of America. We need to speak to Joe Biden. We need to say to Democrats, enough of your suppression of the Yoruba nation. We need to speak to that people. Many of you who voted for them, this is the time for you to speak up. They were in power when MK Abiola was killed. They were in power when Awolowo was in prison. They are now in power towards 2023 election. Are you going to fold your hands until they kill Tinubu before you speak to them? This is the time for us to lobby the Democratic Party. Our generation must make it clear to the United States that the wealth and resources in Nigeria, including its crude oil and the waterways and many others, actually belong to the Yoruba nation and not to the Fulani minority. And that we are willing to do a trade deal with the good people of the United States of America in return for military support for the Yoruba nation to control its wealth and resources, as well as the presidency of Nigeria, and being the economic backbone of Nigeria and the majority of the country population. We must say to the Democrats who are in power that the white in America is the majority in terms of the population of America and the economic backbone of that country. We Yoruba, we are the majority in Nigeria and we are the economic backbone of Nigeria. We must rule. We must say this to the Democrats. You noted that Joe Biden, when he was president-elect, first appointed Adewale Adeyemo, a Yoruba citizen, as the United States Deputy Secretary of the Treasury. Joe Biden then appointed Funmi Olorunnipa Badejo, another Yoruba citizen, as a White House counsel. Also, you must have noticed that Adeoye Owolewa, another Yoruba citizen and a member of the Democratic Party, on November 3rd, 2020, he was elected as the shadow representative of the United States House of Representatives from the District of Columbia. As a shadow congressperson, Omolewa is tasked with lobbying for the DC statehood. The position is authorized by the DC voters in 1982, but never approved by the US Congress. Although Owolewa, was mistakenly described in the Nigerian media as the first Nigerian American to be elected to the United States Congress. Owolewa is not a congressman, and he is not a Nigerian. He is first and foremost a Yoruba citizen. It is obvious from the above-mentioned individuals who are Yoruba that the Yoruba nation has insiders to begin to think about lobbying for a special envoy to Yoruba land in view of the suppression and subjugation of the Yoruba nation by the Fulani minority under the sham unitary system of government that was imposed on the Yoruba people by the Igbo and the Hausa Fulani against the agreed regional system of government before Nigerian independence in 1960. Folks, it is not enough for us to be pleased with Democrats who will now control the White House. Some of you are happy that Joe Biden won. Like me, I'm not happy. I'm concerned about the development of my homeland, Yoruba land. I'm concerned about what will happen to Tinubu. The Yoruba supporters of the Democrat should use this opportunity to reach out to their fellow liberals in America to bring the matter of the need for the Oduduwa Republic and the Yoruba control of the presidency of Nigeria as the majority ethnic groups to Biden's administration and attention. You have to speak to them. It's not enough for you to be happy. We saw all of you jubilating that Joe Biden won. What are you going to do for the interests of your homeland, your ancestral homeland, Yoruba land? After all, Joe Biden is Irish. He's already working for his ancestral homeland. What are you going to do, Yoruba who lives in America? Those of you who voted for the Democrat, and to Yoruba citizens who have been appointed by Joe Biden, speak to this man and let him know that Yoruba nation is the majority and the economic backbone of Nigeria. We must rule and we will trade with America and protect American interests within the West African coast. There's an urgent need for the Yoruba supporters of the Democrat to help us to lobby President Joe Biden in order to safeguard and protect the interests and welfare of the Yoruba nation first and foremost. If we do nothing, if we do not speak to these people, already Atiku has made a statement emboldened by the fact that Democrats won the election. I don't know the capacity that Atiku is speaking as a president. Idiot. This stupid man, Jonathan, is saying that there will never be restructuring, that we have to unite first. Who's going to unite? Have we ever been united? Okorosha is saying that they have to leave APC and go and form another party. All of them have been emboldened by the electoral victory of the Democrat. They know from historical precedent that whenever a Democrat is the president of America, the Yoruba prominent political leader will either be killed or be imprisoned. If we don't want this to be the lot of Tinubu and by extension the Yoruba nation, we must reach out to Joe Biden. We must not sever our working relationship with the good people who are Republicans. We, on our own, as a Yoruba, young Yoruba for freedom, we will continue to lobby the Republican in America so that when it is time that the Democrats will rear their ugly, immoral head to try to suppress the Yoruba nation, we can cry to the Republic for help. But those of you who believe that the Democrats will do us good as Yoruba people, this is the time for you to talk to them. We must not allow the Democrat to destroy Tinubu. If this happens, it will take more than 100 years for Yoruba nation to get it. In fact, we might never get it. Our children will suffer the consequences that will come. I want to appeal to all of you Yoruba citizens who lives in America. Joe Biden is deeply proud of his own Irish roots, and immediately he was declared as president-elect in November 2020. He warned the English not to jeopardize the Good Friday Agreement that brought about a divorce system of government to Northern Ireland. To this end, and because of Joe Biden's intervention in favor of his ancestral Irish homeland, whilst Great Britain, which is England, Scotland, and Wales, is no longer in the custom union with the European Union, Northern Ireland, which is the ancestral homeland of Joe Biden, remains a part of the custom union with the European Union, and people born and raised in Northern Ireland that choose to be Irish citizens will still be EU citizens. This means they can continue to move and reside freely within the EU courtesy of President Joe Biden intervention. I want to appeal to the Yoruba in America. Learn from Joe Biden. He did not forget his ancestral homeland. If you guys, because you now live in America, you do not speak to President Joe Biden to help the Yoruba nation, it's a big shame on you. Your ancestral homeland will be destroyed in your lifetime. I'm appealing to you. My younger sister is a part of them. You jubilated because Joe Biden won. I was sad. You said something that your children that you have in America can become anything in America. How about your niece and nephew who are not privileged to live in America? Who will protect their interests? So I'm telling people, and I'm calling people like my younger sister who lives in America, this is the time for you to reach out to President Joe Biden. This is the time for you to say to him that the only solution for Nigeria is a return to regional government, and the Yoruba must control the presidency of Nigeria because we are the majority and we are the economic backbone. Anything otherwise, we will plead with President Joe Biden to allow Nigeria to break us peacefully so we can go our separate way. I thank you so much for listening to me. And I will read some of your comments. I am not sure if I have to respond to anyone, but if I feel like responding, I will. But at this time, I want to tell you, life is never static. We need the United States of America. Without the support of the United States of America, Tinubu will not be president of Nigeria in 2023. He might have to go on exile, killed, or in prison. We don't want this to happen. We want to control Nigerian presidency because we are the majority. We are the economic backbone. God bless you. God bless you, everybody. Thank you very much. Let me just quickly see if I... Okay. Yo. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Ooh. One Nigeria is only working in Hausa Fulani. Yeah, of course, one Nigeria is only working for the Igbo, and Hausa Fulani is not working for us. They don't want to stay in their space. Okay. Okay, guys, I haven't seen any questions for me. Okay, BC Smiler, I said, God will bless your brain power. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, how many hours have we spent now? Oh, we almost spent 3 hours. Guys, we have to go because a lot of people need to prepare for. So, okay. Thank you very much. I have to let you go now. Cheers.